The annual summer break for the American Le Mans Series is over, and now the stretch run for the championship begins from the always exciting Lime Rock Park.
Trouble here, big crash in front of us.
At the uphill, it's the Aston Martin, it's one of the Audis.
Zindo.
Oh, big trouble here.
They love racing each other. This is so intense, and they come side by side, door to door through Big Ben.
Oh, the four car.
Oh, and Brabham gets the lead, and Timo Bernard spins. Timo Bernard spins at turn 1, and Brabham is the new race leader. The Patron Highcroft team do it. Pole position and a victory. Duncan Dayton.
Welcome, everyone, to Connecticut, the Constitution State. Its first settlers were a rugged and tenacious group, and this weekend another rugged and tenacious group has descended upon Lime Rock Park to do battle on its challenging 1.5 miles of twists and turns. It's round 5 of the American Le Mans Series, the Northeast Grand Prix, and it's next live on Speed. Welcome, everyone, to the Acura pre-race show. I'm Brian Till, along with Dorsey Schrader, Justin Bell, and Jamie Howe. Last year when we were here, David Brabham, fresh off of a GT1 victory at the Le Mans 24 Hours, claimed the pole and the victory overall at Lime Rock Park in a P2 car. This year, he comes to Lime Rock fresh off an overall victory at Le Mans. Can he repeat? He struggles. Pagenaud has the pole, and with time running out, Brabham tries desperately, but those Michelins would just not hold. For more, let's catch up with Justin Bell and our pole sitter.
Certainly a man that understands how to make his Acura go fast. Simon Pagenaud has had 3 poles in a row. But here at Lime Rock, the challenges are different, aren't they, Simon? You've had very little open track time. So how's the race going to unfold? How difficult is it going to be to maintain the speed at the front?
Well, it's obviously great to be on pole. The team did a great job to give me such a good car. The Acura is behaving really well. We definitely going to have a tough afternoon. The challenge is mainly the traffic. You can have the best car on track, but you can finish last. So it's important to think about the traffic. It's mainly instinct. You're driving with your instinct, and you jump on the back of one car from one corner to another, and you just have to find a little bit of room to get by. This is really going to be a tough race, and nothing is won before the end. So if we're leading 2 laps before the end, I'm not sure it's won. So we'll see at the checkered flag.
That's a real winner's perspective on things, but also with the leading pole position Ferrari Risi is Jamie with more on that story.
Risi Competizione most recently had a flawless run at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and Jamie Malo, you have taken that momentum and turned it into a pole to start off the second half of the season. How important is that at a tight circuit like Lime Rock Park?
Yeah, I can say that's 50% of the race, and in a track like this, it's really short track, and only one is more straight, so it's really hard to overtake. Yeah, it's a great start, and we just need to keep the car on the track and out of trouble. So I think we got a good chance to win the race.
Thanks, Justin and Jamie. A look at 2 of the 22 cars that will start today, but there's a look at the 15, the Lowe's Fernandez car. Dorsey, the last 2 years, an LMP2 car has won overall. Can they do that this year?
Well, they can, but it's going to be a lot more difficult because of new rules put in place to slow these cars down. That being said, it's possible. The car did qualify 3rd.
Smaller restrictors, a little more weight. It's going to be a challenge. Let's look at the Corsa Motorsports, the number 48, the black and blue. Ginetta Zytek, the hybrid. We met it at Salt Lake City where it was introduced, but it did not run in hybrid form there, Dorsey. This weekend, it's another story.
Yeah, that was a test. This is for real because before it was not homologated yet by the ACO. Now it has been homologated. It will set history today as the first prototype hybrid to run in competition.
We'll see if that car can make it to the end. Remember, it's still in its infancy. The Acura pre-race show has been brought to you by Acura. Acura. Advance. Beautiful weather and a great crowd on hand. Take a look at the starting grid and the speed strip across the top of the screen. And while you look at the full field, let's take a moment to introduce you to our class pole sitters.
Hi, I'm Simon Pagenaud. I live in Montmorillon, France.
My name is Gilles de Ferren. I'm originally from São Paulo, Brazil, and I currently live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Hi, I'm Adrian Fernandez from Mexico City.
Luis Diaz, Mexico City, Mexico.
Hello, I'm Jamie Melo from Brazil.
Hi, my name is Pierre Kaffer. I'm from Cologne.
Hi, I'm Bob Fietta from Tahunga, California.
Hi, I'm Wesley Hoagland. I grew up in Kansas City and live in Orange County, California.
4 classes of cars competing here on 1.5 miles worth of racetrack. We'll have some great shots. We got great camera operators showing you the scenes from outside, but what about inside the cars? Well, we've got that taken care of too. You can climb behind the wheel with some of your favorite ALMS drivers for the ultimate 2-screen experience. It's the Speed Onboard Pass presented by Acura. So all you have to do is log on to speedtv.com, keyword Acura, and do it right now. Great shots, Dorsey.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic race. Traffic is going to be intense. It's rained solidly for 2 days and filled up Lime Rock Park like a fishbowl. You don't want to get off the racetrack today, boys.
It's definitely the gray and green rule. It works better on the gray than it does on the green. A lot of the grass still damp, and you said it, Dorsey, if you get off onto that slick grass, that damp grass right now, you're going for a ride.
Well, there's actually lakes out there. Here's one right here. Look off to your screen left. That, if you get in there, you're not coming out without a tow truck.
I was going to say, not without the help of a tow truck. And, you know, that's the nature of this racetrack. It's somewhat of a bull ring, and it is a challenge for these competitors. Traffic is going to be a big issue as well. They're going to have to play well together today, or it's going to be a long one.
Pagenaud's pole time is a new track record at 46 seconds a lap around here. Now think about that for a minute, if you will. That's with 2 slowdown areas on the racetrack to keep these cars from going even faster. With this traffic, 4 classes, it's going to be intense as you've ever seen.
And as the weather has cleared, there is a huge crowd that is gathered. Notice there is not a single grandstand here at Lime Rock Park. That's because it is a park. There's not a grandstand anywhere on this facility, and that's one of the great things about it. It's known as the Road Racing Center of the Northeast. Some great new viewing areas that you'll notice. You see one off to the left right now, and they've really worked well, Skip Barber and his crew here, to make sure the spectators have a great shot. They're going to have a great view of the start as the cars flash by. David Brabham with a bit of lead on the front straightaway.
No start, Brian. Everybody's scrambling around a little bit too much for the starter's liking. Now they'll regroup. They'll regroup themselves. You see the starter there shaking his head. He did not like the way that looked. I don't blame him. I didn't like it either.
Skip Barber calls those viewing areas trackside walkways, and they have moved very close to the racetrack, and it's great to get that up-close view. Here's an up-close view of David Brabham, just too much of a lead onto the front straight.
Yeah, Brabham's accelerated on the downhill run onto the front straight, but he didn't get a green flag. Now, that doesn't mean the clock hasn't started for the time allotment. That is Scott Sharp that jumped early there. It's a good try at getting an advantage, but it didn't stick.
Yeah, I mean, you try to get any jump that you can, obviously, around this racetrack. You heard Jamie Mello talk about how important qualifying position was to be up front, and right now you see Scott Sharp trying to take advantage of that as much as he can, try to get that jump and lead into the first corner. David Brabham watches on, and this time it's Pagenaud with the big jump.
See what happens this time. Hey, we got a green this time, and it's on.
Well, that's because the guy that qualified on the pole was actually in the lead. They weren't going to let the guy in second place lead coming off the last corner. And watch the field as it streams through turns 1 and 2. It's prototypes out in front, and the prototype on point right now is the number 66.
Look at the GT group behind them, man. They're fighting really hard. I can see that the Ferrari still holds the lead. Here they come right now. You got the Ferrari, Porsche, BMW twice.
And it's great to see the BMWs up there. The BMW Rahal Letterman team struggling to get good finishes. The cars have been fast as you ride on board the number 92 right now. The cars have been fast. It is reliability and luck, really, that's been the issue.
And Brian, right there, I saw the first car hit one of those new tire bales. Those were put in this weekend, and it's going to play out in the race today. They're going to hit these tires repeatedly, and they're going to break race car pieces off the car. I wish they had found a better way of restricting that area.
Well, as you know, as a driver, Dorsey, the only way to restrict an area to keep drivers from going through it, if you can shortcut the course, is to block it. And right now, the 45, taking a look on the 62, the 45 Flying Lizard Porsche, that beautiful silver and red Porsche 911 GT3 RSR being driven by Patrick Long right now, really putting the pressure on the lead GT2 car, the red number 62 Ferrari. And right now, it's Pierre Kaffer behind the wheel. Back up front in the 66. It was Pagenaud who qualified on the pole. DeFerrin pilots that Acura right now. And after just a lap of competition, Dorsey, Gilles DeFerrin we're pulling out a pretty substantial lead, and that's one of the things I think you find at Lime Rock Park. When the car is working right and the tires get up to temperature, you can bolt and bolt quickly.
But the thing is, this is the end of lap 1. Within another lap or 2, he will be into the back end of the GT field and will have to get slowed down by that in some way or another.
It is going to be a busy day here at Lime Rock Park. 22 cars on 1.5 miles worth of racetrack. Traffic is going to be a huge issue. It's Gilles de Ferran that holds down the point right now. We talk about Lime Rock Park and the beauty and the scenery that surrounds it. Take a look at it and make sure you come back and join us for more ALMS action right here on Speed. Speed's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by Acura. Acura, advance. And by Michelin, a better way forward. Great crowd on hand and the perfect weather. Over the last 2 days, we really began to wonder with the rain that came down, but it is beautiful weather, and right now, smooth sailing for Gilles de Ferran in the number 66 Acura, the LMP1 entry up front. About 2.5 seconds in hand over Scott Sharp in the Patron Highcroft machine, a matching Acura AROX2.
And you see they're lapping through. There now is Marino Franchitti, the new leader in the P2 category, as he's now past the Fernandez car.
Now the Fernandez car, the number 15 Acura AROX1, the LMP2 entry, is undefeated this year, but the Dyson Lola Mazda has gotten stronger and stronger as we go. They had a great battle in Salt Lake City, but watch it down the front straightaway. I wonder if traffic had something to do with this, Dorsey.
Probably did, the way it looks. You know, they're lapping through, and you see right there the run that Marino had. So I think you're probably right. It was probably a traffic situation, but let's say about for a minute.
Although, look at the gap.
The Dyson guys did not go to Le Mans. It gave them 2 months to what Rob Dyson's like to say, Dysonize their car. Take it down to complete nothing and then try to make it more user-friendly, more mechanic-friendly, and work out all the bugs that we saw earlier in the year. So, I mean, basically, they've taken and rebuilt it and made it their own type of chassis, something Dyson's always done with these Lola. It's not the first time.
Well, the thing that's impressive, though, is once Marino has gotten by, he's opened a significant gap. Look at the traffic. We talked about this, that he'll have to deal with another LMP2 entry in front of him. That's the Van der Stur Radical, and that's the number 18 VC Racing GT2 Porsche right in front of him. And this is what you're going to have to deal with for 2 hours and 45 minutes. And traffic giveth and taketh away. I said he had pulled out a big gap, but look, the 15 car now right there.
In the car in front that you're talking about is Adam Pecorari, who had a spin not too long ago down in turn 1 by himself. Now he's fighting for his life to try to not go to that lap down, which it can do so easily here at Lime Rock.
On board right now with Luis Diaz in the number 15, that Lowe's Fernandez entry. And the thing that should be noted, we talk about how strong the Dyson Mazda Lolas have gotten over the year. Remember, that was a brand new car and engine combination, chassis engine combination this year. This Acura in the hands of Luis Diaz and Adrian Fernandez, they ran it all last year. Look at this traffic.
And look, this is a straightaway, what they call no-name straight, and it's all windy, and you dare not go alongside and bump somebody back there. That's the problem with Lime Rock. You can get trapped into an area on the racetrack where passing is impossible.
Well, and patience.
Oh,
I mean, you've got to have it.
This is a huge high-speed motorized chess game. You don't want to get yourself blocked in, and it's you have to look so far ahead and think so far ahead of where you're at on the racetrack to make that accomplished.
Through the downhill, the diving turn, turn 10. Look at this mass of cars. You would expect this over in Connecticut and New Jersey. Patrick Long trying to get by in the 45, the silver Porsche, in a battle for the lead in GT2, but right there you see the second place overall car trying to get by that battle.
That's Scott Sharp. And look, you know, he gets held up by the Ferrari there. Now the Ferrari guy doesn't, you know, they don't have to pull over here, but it's really difficult. And you could see Scott flashing the lights, letting him know, hey, I'm the faster car. This is how you end up getting crashed out here, too. You have to have a little bit of credence.
Oh, look at the traffic right now, and you see there's the battle for the lead in GT2, I should say, trying to come past one of the ALMS Challenge cars, the Porsche, the Patron entry you see there.
And the lead in P2, as you got first and second place mixed in that fray.
It is all right there, all happening. 4 classes.
And here comes the other Dyson car. Look, it's got a run going too. Watch, he'll just pop in. He's got a run coming on the Fernandez car, trying to make the Dysons 1-2 right now. I don't know if he can make it. Yeah, he's got him, Brian. Look, he's coming down the inside.
There's 1.5 miles of asphalt out here, and I don't think there's not a pass happening on any of it right now. Battles everywhere, and you've got to be careful Because if you're trying to fight in there for your lead in GT2, you've got these other guys coming by. You got to give them room, and the 16 has gotten by the 15 as well.
Right, the pass was being made right there. It was actually it was the second place of the Dyson cars that got to run on the Fernandez car, and now the Dyson's 1-2, the two Mazdas.
It is busy, and you just saw one of the ALMS Challenge cars there run on the old part of the circuit, and the officials told them, look, if you get into too much traffic and there's going to be a collision there in that tight turn 5, just go straight as long as you don't improve your position. I think that's what we saw one of the Challenge cars do right there. Justin?
You know, how would you like to be in one of the GT cars? I mean, here those two guys are racing it out for the class win or for the lead of the class, and they're just trapped amongst all these other cars around them. There's nothing there's nowhere to go hide on this racetrack. That's something I've always said. No matter where you are on the asphalt, you've got company.
Now, let me ask you this question. At Salt Lake City, we saw the number 15 Acura, the Lowe's Fernandez entry, win the P2 battle against the Dyson by just a half a second. They did it on a fuel run. We saw him qualify on pole here. Diaz dropping back just a bit. Is this a fuel run for them here this weekend, I wonder?
Well, it could be. I mean, it's hard to say what's going on this early in this race. It's such a fast racetrack and such a fast, short lap time. I don't think anybody's doing anything but learning right now.
When we look at these cars, guys, every one of them has amazing performance attributes in their own way, and it would be very easy to say that a P1 or a P2 absolutely dominates over a GT car. But actually, that's not the case. Talking with like Luis Diaz, he was saying that the GT2 Porsches are so good under braking, they've evolved so well, so is the BMW, that in fact, it's not as easy as you'd think to get by. That is the advantage the P1s have with that little bit more power. So although all the lap times, especially between P1 and P2, are very close, it's really not so easy as you think because they've got the horsepower to overtake, just a little bit more advantage than the others. So all this traffic is not as easy to sort out, and you're seeing it out there. It's just a living testament to the fact that ALMS Racing has evolved in every category, and I think the only oddball right now in terms of probably head-turning traffic would be the challenge cars, and you know they really are having their work cut out, and we're seeing it, aren't we?
Well, I think the leaders are having their work cut out, as are the challenge cars. There's your leader in the ALMS Challenge class, the number 47 of Guy Cosmo.
Now these cars are, you know, nowhere near the performance level of the cars they're racing against. There's 5 of these cars racing within the confines of their own race. You see the green light at the back, at the bottom, which designates that as a challenge car. The one thing about them, Brian, they don't have big fender flares or big tires, and what that makes them is really fast in a straight line.
And Guy Cosmo, a very experienced road racer. You have to be able to run in this ALMS Challenge class. Used to piloting a prototype as well, so if there's an ALMS Challenge driver out there who understands the ebb and flow of traffic, it's probably Guy Cosmo.
Yeah, I mean, Guy's a pro driver and has driven from the bottom end of the ladder to the top end of the ladder, so he's been in every configuration of car. He realizes it, but it's a very tough job for these guys in the underpowered cars too, because you can't get out of the way. You still have to race your race.
Now, if you want to watch the speed differential between GT2 and ALMS Challenge, you see the Challenge car go by. There's the battle for the GT2 lead. Pierre Caffer holds it right now in that beautiful red Ferrari. It's Patrick Long who wants it in the silver number 45 Flying Lizard Porsche. Gilles de Ferran continues to lead overall. You couldn't ask for a better day or more beautiful scenery than you'll find here when you come to Lime Rock Park. Gilles de Ferran continues to lead at Lime Rock Park. Round 5 of the American Le Mans Series competition. His teammate Simon Pagenaud qualified that beautiful Acura on the pole, and a problem for one of the ALMS Challenge cars. It looks like the 02 entry. That's one of the Group Orange cars of Nick Parker and Don Pickering.
And that spin is up there in the new series of corners that were designed to slow these cars down. Very, very tight through there. As you can see, barely enough room to get 2 cars side by side in there.
Back underway, the 02. It's Don Pickering behind the wheel right now. He's back underway. It looks like no harm to the car, just a little spin. And trying to get off line to get out of the way may cause that kind of stuff.
And the challenge cars have the narrowest tires, and they have the least amount of braking potential, but they go down the straightaway pretty well. So, I mean, it's easy to get yourself in with these other cars that have better performance characteristics than yours and then get sucked into a corner at their speed, which is too much for yourself.
Right there, you see the 48 Ginetta Zytek hybrid that we talked about going around the Panos Esperante, and that is one of the GT2 entries.
We talked about that hybrid, Brian. Of course, it's running a gasoline-powered, internal combustion engine in combination with an electric motor, and it's generating electricity when it goes into its braking areas, and then transferring the electrical power through the electric motor into the transmission to give it extra boost around the racetrack. First time out, I'm going to have to say that. I mean, there's a lot of teething left in this car, but I'd take my hat off to him for trying to do something like this.
I also noticed the shock cover is
gone.
It looks like it's blown off there in the front. Don't know if the little contact or whatever. We talked to Steve Pruitt, the owner of the team, and he said, it's like we were pregnant in Salt Lake City. We've now given birth to this thing. It's now working, but it is an infant, and it has a long way to go and a long way to grow. And that's a battle for position right behind him there. That's the 40 car, the Ford GT of David Murray, who's having a great run right now in 5th in GT2. Bryce Miller in the number 87 Farnbacher-Lowell's Porsche, trying to do battle with that beautiful Ford GT. You see LMP cars streaming by as well. So you're having a fight, and then somebody comes and interrupts it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to watch your mirrors here like you can't believe. I mean, you can't even assume anything here. With these cars are going around here so fast. The P1 car is 46 seconds. It's unbelievable.
40 car has had some great runs. David Murray has qualified well. Remember, he qualified 4th at Sebring in that car that he shares with Andrea and David Robertson, and it's got a big thumping V8. A little problem in the morning warm-up, but definitely back up the song right now.
Now look at this. Here's your overall leader. Ride with him as he's trying to go through the battle. We just watched that. There's David Murray, 2 cars up in the Ford GT. And now, here's No Name Straight. Watch how hard it is. He can't get by David here.
On board right now with Bryce Miller. You see him. Now we've got 3 classes of cars right there. GT2 cars, both the Ford GT.
And look what happened. That was a very smart thing. The race director, Bo Barfield, told those guys, when you get in a situation, you've got all these guys all around you, and you get to that uphill corner, just blow it off. As long as you don't improve your position on your competition, go around the long way and get out of their right way. I think that is a great call.
Yeah, a great call by Bo Barfield to allow him to do that. And you saw it right there. You saw the ALMS Challenge car go straight, allow the faster cars through the corner. And it's really one of the nice little designs here at Lime Rock. It wasn't intended that way, I'm sure, but it's actually ended up to be a pretty nice escape road. Now, there is our leader in GT2, that beautiful red number 62 Ferrari. Second place, the 45, the silver and red Porsche, a Flying Lizard, Patrick Long behind the wheel. But you got LMP2 cars working up through there as well. Right now, you're on board the number 15. There's an ALMS Challenge car that goes by right on the right, and the GT2 leader right there in front.
That's the 1st through 4th in GT2, actually, because right behind him, Pat Long, then the 2 BMWs are right there as well. And so you got all the classes mixing it up right here, and it's going to go like this all day long. I remember racing this race, and whether you win it or whatever happens, you come out of here with the biggest headache because you've never mentally gone through such a challenge of trying to get through here all day long without wrecking.
Well, talking to some of the GT2 drivers, they're really having a problem with the traffic, more so than they thought. When they were at Salt Lake City, it's a much longer course, a lot more room for them to get around those challenge cars. But here at Lime Rock, they're having to manage the traffic, which is something that they've never had to do before. So it's a struggle for them as well.
Well, that's a great point, Jamie, because if you're driving a GT2 car right now, you got guys whizzing past you and you're whizzing up on people. So it's one of those deals where you kind of get it coming and going. You see somebody's been off through the grass there in turn 5. So as a GT2 competitor, you may have the most difficult job out there right now, Dorsey.
Well, it's very difficult for all these guys because if you make one little mistake and you hit side to side and get pushed in the grass, remember we said it's rained for 2 days here. If you leave 2 wheels in the grass, you're going to go for a ride and you're probably going to hit something before you come to a stop.
Overall leader right now. Look at the difference in speed from the P1 car as he flashed by one of the BMWs. Coming up on Patrick Long there, 2nd place in GT2.
This reminds me of driving my motorhome in downtown Miami traffic. The difference is these guys are professionals, and the people in Miami who drive like this are crazy.
So you drive? Are you the Acura in your motorhome?
Yeah, I'm a 66 car. They don't like it when I do it.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. Right now, Pierre Caffer doing a great job of holding off Patrick Long there in the silver and red number 45 Flying Lizard Porsche. The battle for the lead in GT2, and you're already watching cars begin to come up through. But it's not just a battle on the racetrack amongst the competitors. There's also the Michelin Green X Challenge, which is a vital manufacturing competition within each American Le Mans Series race in 2009, and it rewards the greenest prototype and GT team at each event. The race car that goes the farthest, the fastest, and with the smallest environmental impact registers the best score. So follow the competition throughout the season on AmericanLeMans.com, and when we come back, we'll keep you up to date with just how those scores sit right now in the Michelin Green X Challenge. When we left you going to break, we were talking about the Michelin Green X Challenge. Well, let's take a look at the prototype standings right now. Corsa Motorsports leads, and you would expect them to have a very good performance right now, especially with that hybrid system up and running. That may be the car to beat in the Michelin Green X Challenge for the rest of the season.
I suspect it will be, Brian. I mean, we don't know the efficiency of what that hybrid is capable of doing yet. There's still very much a fledgling situation, but I mean, in theory, that should be the very best car out there.
And look at the GT2 class. Primetime Race Group out in front right now, having a good run, then followed by the two BMWs of Rahal Letterman, the 90 and the 92. So not only are those cars doing well on the racetrack, also doing well in the Michelin Green X Challenge. On board with Bryce Miller down the front straightaway, and talk about the front straightaway, there comes Gilles de Ferran in that beautiful 66 XM Radio Acura. He is your overall leader, and right now, about a 10-second lead or so over this car, the number 9 with Scott Sharp on board right now.
The full length of the front straightaway is what you just saw, as you saw Gilles de Ferran turn into turn 1 as Scott Sharp came down the downhill.
Scott Sharp came back to Lime Rock for the first time in 15 years last year. He is a native of Connecticut, grew up close by to here. And if you're going to have to share a car with somebody and you're Scott Sharp, nobody else better to share it with than David Brabham. Isn't that right, Justin?
Well, I wish I'd got the chance. I just had to be at his wedding. DB, you know, it's wonderful for us because we're mainly concentrating on anyone out on the track. But here, you're about to get in a few laps' time. What's it like inside your sort of stomach, the butterflies and things?
Actually, it's all right. There's nothing I can do at the moment until I get in the car, so what's the point of worrying?
He's a typical Aussie, very laid back, as Lee Diffie would testify to. But obviously, Scott's reeling in de Ferran actually quite nicely. What do you think that is? Is at the front of the show, he kind of lost a little bit of time. Is that maybe Gilles just got that IndyCar experience that can really push hard from the beginning, or is it that your car kind of comes in a little bit better during the stint?
I don't know.
You're a very good interview.
Yeah, no, I think if you look at all the races so far, Scott's come really strong at the end of the stint, and some of that's due to looking after the tyre at the beginning and having a strong end of the stint. So hopefully that's what's going to happen.
Well, we're really looking forward to seeing DB get in the car, and he's really doing a bad job of putting on his tear off so far, so we better leave him alone. Back to you guys.
You should never let a driver work on anything.
Sound like two politicians, those two.
Right now, Scott Sharp is beginning to make up some time, and you know, perhaps you're just sitting there getting settled in. You know you've got a long race. You know it's going to come back to you. There's going to be an ebb and flow in traffic. So perhaps that's what Scott Sharp is thinking. We've seen great battles all around the racetrack, none better than GT2. It was the Risi Competizione Ferrari of Pierre Caffer that led early on from the pole, but this car, the 45 of Patrick Long, now is in front, Dorsey, and I noticed there's a little rubbing mark on the front.
Yeah, he's in front, and he's got a dent in his front bumper, too. I don't know if we don't know for sure that was how he got in front, but I bet our people back there in the truck can show us how that happened.
The magic of television. Patrick Long flashes down the front straightaway in real time into turn 1 with the GT2 lead, but just a couple of laps ago, here you go.
Well, you see 3 cars going for the same corner at the same time. And here comes Mr. Long. Oh, loosened him up a little bit. That'll move you over. It's a good maneuver. And we call that big bend, and we call that loosening you up. Oh, no, the BMW just got into somebody else's dirt and spun. Did you see that right when he turned in?
That was the Was that the 90 or
yeah,
the
92?
90? Looks like the 90.
You know, he was the first one to get there after someone's been off the road and dumped all that clag, as Mr. Hobbs would say.
And this was the great battle that we were watching earlier on, the 87 and the 40. Bryce Miller on board that Farnbacher-Lowe's Porsche.
Good
Gets
move.
by David Murray. Good move. Now, I should mention, when Patrick Long made the contact, you saw the 12, the prototype in front there at the apex of 1. And I saw brake lights on the Ferrari. I think he had to overslow there to avoid the 12 car, and perhaps Patrick Long just couldn't get slowed up in time. It certainly didn't look intentional, but intentional or not, the result was the same.
Well, and it's been able to gap the Ferrari a little bit too, and I would say that the Porsche has won the last 3 years in a row here, so certainly they have a handle on this racetrack with that race car. It would be Jörg Bergmeister, if he could win, would go for 4 in a row, and that puts him right at the top of winners here at Lime Rock, able to do something like that.
Look at the traffic. I mean, it's ebb and flow. The 92 was up to the 62, and now you drop back. It's like I said earlier, traffic works for you sometimes, and sometimes it takes away. Look at the gap.
Yeah, well, see, the tires just got hit again, and I've been watching it. These drivers are not dumb. What they're I don't know, I'm not saying that they're hitting the tires on purpose, but they're pushing the tires back away, opening up the radius for that corner. And I've seen it for the last 2 or 3 laps, that corner is getting faster and faster because the tires are getting moved out of the way.
You're insinuating the drivers would do that on purpose.
Well, if you didn't hurt your car, you would do that. Yeah, certainly would.
62 running second, that beautiful white BMW right now. The number 92 running in third. Tommy Milner behind the wheel. Running third, we saw the problems for the number 90, the sister car. Down there in turn 5, Bill Auberlen on someone else's grass. He had the problem. Gilles de Ferran still leads overall, but what a great run for Marino Franchitti. Can they break the number 15 string of undefeated this year? We'll find out if Dyson can get the job done when we come back to Lime Rock Park. Tonight on Speed, join us for the ARCA Remax Series as it rolls into Kentucky. As Parker Kligerman and Justin Lofton battle atop the point standings, veteran Frank Kimmel wants to prove he's still a force to be reckoned with. Don't miss the ARCA Remax Series live from Kentucky tonight, 9:30 Eastern.
Now see how nice they've now knocked the tires back, how nice a corner that is. It's so much nicer now.
Thank God that you don't have earth-moving equipment, because if you did that as a race car driver, you'd been straightening out corners everywhere. Look at that as you watch the Dyson Lola Mazda zipping by some of that ALMS Challenge traffic there as they come flashing through the downhill. Now look at this battle in GT2. It's the battle for fourth, the 40, that beautiful silver Ford GT. In battle right now with the BMW of Bill Auberlen. There's your overall leader. You ride on board with him as he tries to work his way around this battle.
Right. Oh, look at that. Both the GT cars got in front of him there. Bill Auberlen trying to get by David Murray in the 40, the GT, Ford GT right there. Is really doing a great job. Oh, look, he's really frustrated
Running
now.
out of patience right now is Gilles de Ferran into the braking zone for turn 5. And you also see one of the Dyson Mazdas in there. It looks like the 16.
Yeah, and that's what that's why he's shaking his fist, because the Dyson 16 is caught right up there. But it's frustrating, Brian. You got to find a way not to let yourself mentally get frustrated in this race, because it happens all day. You're going to get hung up in these little things, and it feels like you're just stopped out there. You're not stopped. You just got to have a little patience.
Robertson Racing really developing this Ford GT, and they have improved it so much over the year. We talk about the good qualifying David Murray had at Sebring. Another good run here. He's actually qualified in the top 10 every time he's been in the car, as high as 4th at Sebring and then 6th at Long Beach. So a good run. The development of this car just continues.
It's a good car now, it really is. I mean, you can tell when David's behind the wheel, you know, that the car responds quite well. Bill Auberlen is just doing everything, trying to find a way by. David's just got it countered right now.
Well, I checked in with that BMW team. I'd keep an eye on them, because they do think that Bill had a little bit of damage when he spun around. They think he might have had some contact. They know that he did get some grass stuck up in the radiator, so they're keeping an eye on him. But you're right, guys, that Robertson Racing team, they did do a test day out here. They're very pleased to be a part of this entire American Le Mans Series program. David Robertson said racing at a track like Lime Rock reminds him of why he does it. It's just the history, and it's fun. So great battle for them, and it's good to see those guys up in the pack as well.
Well, Brian, David Murray, just like you and myself, was an instructor out here for the Skip Barber Racing School for a long time. We sat here and spent how many summers of our lives learning this racetrack? So, I mean, he does know this place quite well, trust me.
He knows it very well, but so does Bill Auberlen. Don't forget, this man has 10 professional wins at Lime Rock in 5 separate championships. His first win here was in IMSA GTU competition back in 1994. So Arberlin really kind of a master of the rock, so to speak. And you put him in a BMW around this place, and he is magic. And right now, he had that problem early on, but he's fighting his way back. Talk about fighting his way back. The 15 that was on the pole in the LMP2 class has come to pit road, and this seems early to me, Dorsey.
It is early. We heard on the radio that there was some trouble on this car. I couldn't understand exactly what they were looking at, but this is more than just a routine pit stop.
It certainly is more than a routine pit stop. I mean, they were complaining from the cockpit that they had definite vibration, definite handling issues from the front right, and that was the only information he was able to get across back to the pits, and they couldn't obviously see anything visibly while it was out on track, and you don't want to lose track position, so they have come in for an early pit stop. So, you know, we're going to see. An interesting thing about these pit stops is that the rules have changed somewhat and allow the guys waiting on the wall, anyone that follows our series knows you have to kind of sit behind the wall. But now, because this pit wall's so narrow, they're actually allowed to stand with one part of their body touching the wall. So I guess if you've got a kind of big butt, you're better off than the skinny guy. But you have to be there in position to get there.
Heard him talking about having trouble with the actuator, and I think what they're talking about, I'm not sure, would be the mechanical shifter that shifts this gearbox.
Can you see if it changed gear with your hand?
There you go. That's exactly what they're talking about. The actuator is when the button is pushed, when the shift lever is pushed, the actuator is what actually shifts the gearbox to the next gear, which is not happening right now.
You do not want to come to pit road at Lime Rock Park under green flag conditions. Right now, the leader's running lap times right in the 50-second bracket. Actually, Scott Sharp, the fastest car on the track, 49-second lap right now. So every lap that, every moment that they're sitting there on pit road, they're losing lap after lap. And here's this battle in GT2 that we've been watching.
Bill Arberlin was alongside David Murray back there where you turn back onto the no-name straightaway. David shut the door on him. Now, I can tell you one thing about Bill Murray. You can get away with that once, maybe twice, but the chrome horn will come into play here very shortly.
Or Bill Arberlin. You said Bill Murray. He's the comedian.
Well, he would have done it earlier. So, did I say Bill Murray?
And you gotta look at David Murray. I mean, here's a guy who's a professional race car driver, and he's working with the Robertsons trying to bring him along. But let's face it, that's not a driver pairing. As Arberlin looks to the inside again, that's not a driver pairing that's going to win races right now. It's not two professional drivers out there competing like Bill Arberlin and Joey Hand in that BMW. So when David Murray's in that car at the start, he needs to show the paddock what he can do. That's when he gets to show his resume and prove his worth. And right now, he's staying in front of one of the fastest guys in the series in Bill Arberlin. So he's having a good run, and he's saying, don't forget about me, guys. We may not be finishing way up there on the podium each time. We've had some good finishes this year. Don't get me wrong, but I want to remind everybody I can still go quick.
He's doing a great job. I really wouldn't have thought he could have held back Bill Arberlin this long. And you can see Bill now is trying everything, but the BMW is getting loose at the back end. And that could be because he's been charging so hard on David, trying to find a way by, that he's actually got the rear tires pretty hot right now.
That's a big thumping V8 in that Ford, and then also a V8 in the BMW. And BMW had gotten a little help, a larger restrictor at Salt Lake City, which they've maintained here. That's given them a little more horsepower and making the cars more competitive. We've seen their times or their speeds improve with the Porsches, but right now he's having a difficult time dealing with David Murray. I think the BMW better in the tight stuff.
And the Ford's got the straightaway, or at least it's got the acceleration off the corner to the next corner part. And but if ever Bill Arberlin gets his fender alongside the rear of that Ford, there's going to be problems.
There's nothing like a car that handles well down the straightaway. Right now, the Ford GT doing that. Now, you ride on board the 92 BMW on the left side of the screen, while Bill Arberlin in the 90 BMW does battle with David Murray. That is the 62, the red Ferrari right in front, the GT car. You see the 48 prototype on the outside. So this is another great battle in the GT2 class.
That's the battle for second place in GT2 as the Ferrari right now holds it. However, the BMW really getting in within contention time now.
You know, we thought that the Ferrari with a very good weight distribution, you see Pierre Caffer beginning to run offline a little bit, not really blocking, not moving the car, but not moving to that wide line at the exit of the corner. Just really trying to, I think, balk that move of the 92 and Tom Milner.
Well, one thing we've seen the Ferrari do going in the course of the year is it's very good at managing all 4 tires. It doesn't run off the rear, it doesn't run off the front, and it really sustains its speed higher than the other cars. But the BMW right now is showing a really good job.
Yeah, it's surprising to me that it looks like perhaps the tires might be giving up on the 62. When you look back over to the right side of the screen, you'll see one of the Dyson LMP2 Lola Mazdas that has kind of split that battle a little bit between David Murray and Bill Auberlen. We said there's never a dull moment around Lime Rock. You're certainly witnessing that. Gilles de Ferran continues to lead. It is 1.5 miles of treacherous asphalt. You put 22 hard-nosed competitors on it, you're going to get great racing. That's what we've got. The fans love it. I know you do too. Make sure you join us right after this. The American Le Mans Series, the Northeast Grand Prix from Lime Rock Park, round 5 of the American Le Mans Series. You're right on board the leader, Gilles de Ferran, but not all is well with his number 66 Acura. You see that bodywork flopping in the back. It's actually part of the diffuser that's behind the right rear wheel, Dorsey. That is going to affect not only the way the car works, but I would imagine the officials are going to take a look at that and say, we don't want that coming off in front of another competitor. Well,
they could mandate an early stop for this car. That is an aerodynamic bit that's added to the back. Now, I think that probably came off. Oh, we'll see. We're about to see how it happened.
Right on board with Scott Sharp. Just a little over a second behind Gilles de Ferran right now, so really beginning to close.
Oh, watch this. Riding on board the Dyson car right now. And the car right in front of you. Oh, he just messed the corner up and gets really nailed by the Dyson car. Watch this here. You'll see it better. He went across the curbs. He had to lift and checked up, and bam.
Did he have to lift, or did the car stall or stumble, or maybe jumped out of gear by going over the curbs? Because if you breathe, you don't slow down that much. I mean, he parked. The car almost stopped, it seemed like. Do you think?
It was either that, he was afraid of going across the curbing and tearing the nose off, so he's trying to get it completely woed down. But in any event, Dyson car is caught off guard and just goes up. Oh, David Murray's lost the right rear. Yeah, David's right rear is missing completely. You can see the wheel nut's gone, which means the wheel nut came off. It didn't break a hub or anything.
The reason it's like that, Dorsey, is because the team didn't even have the tire on before the crew dropped the car and gave David the cue to go. They were just doing tires only, but they were not finished with that stop. So this is a big miscommunication for the Robertson Racing team.
Oh, disappointing, and now running.
They might get a penalty for all this too before they're done with it all.
Okay, Dave, cut the engine. Engine off.
And that's the penalty, I would think.
Yep, you see the tires going on, but I want to say I saw an air hose run over, and if that's the case.
That's what I mean, yeah. I mean, it looked to me like they were going to accrue a penalty here before they're done. Here we can take a look at the real-time pit stop. You see, they dropped it before the tire man even had the tire down. And David could feel something wrong right away. By then, it's too far.
Well, and of course, as soon as the car hits the ground, you take off. Talk about taking off. Scott Sharp has closed the margin now. That is the leader right in front of him. That is Gilles de Ferran. Remember, at one point in time, it was 10 seconds. It's now less than a second. Sharp in attack mode. Justin was talking about how that car seems to get better and better as the stint goes on. And with that damage, I would imagine aerodynamics. But what about suspension damage? That was a big hit back there, Dorsey, for Gilles de Ferran.
Do not take any chances. You have a faster car than him. We're looking good. Nice driving, Scott.
Well, you got to wonder about that suspension, like you said, because the first hit wasn't that bad, but they hit a second time, and that hit might have hit that right rear tire after the body part was knocked loose. In any event, what they're hearing on the radio right there is true. Scott Sharp is the faster of the two cars. He doesn't need to take any chances. Pit stops are imminent.
You heard the team saying, just take your time, be patient, but we also understand Sharp complaining of a lot of understeer right now. I wonder if that's an aerodynamic condition, Dorsey, being so close to the car in front of him, not getting good air over those aerodynamic devices and underneath the car, or if it's a mechanical understeer right now. Any way you look at it, he may have an understeer, but he's still faster than the car in front.
Yeah, and it could be a aero understeer because he's tucked up so close, in which case he'd be better off to back away and get a run at him. But with this traffic, as you see right here, I mean, you're better to stay tight.
And now, while you were being patient before, as Gilles de Ferran potentially was trying to be in traffic, you can't be patient now because you've got your nearest pursuer right behind you. If the door opens, you got to put it in there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The two of them now. I'm kind of wondering if de Ferran's car is hurt at all. I don't think it is from the lap times they're doing. I mean, they're running relatively good considering they're in traffic.
Sharp takes a look to the inside. Nothing doing there. You would suspect.
Well, the part that was knocked loose is gone now, Brian. So what you were talking about before is maybe getting a black flag. It's gone. It's out on the racetrack somewhere.
Remember, with these cars, they are literally pieces of art in aerodynamics and engineering, and tremendous amount of thought went into that front and rear bodywork on that Acura. Remember, with those front tires being the same width as the rear, everything's changed, the game's changed, and this is the game changer. And so we can say only a little bit of bodywork's missing, but that was there for an exact reason. And these cars are extraordinarily good at cornering, as we know, because of their downforce, and I'll show you hopefully some of the bodywork later, but this is a big problem for them because it just upsets them by maybe 5 or 6%, and we're all drivers. We know that that can be enough just to throw your game off. A little bit under braking, a little bit going into the high-speed corner. Turn 1 for them is actually almost flat. They just lift and then, you know, go down a gear just afterwards. So I think it's just not Gilles off his game, Dorsey, not much more than that.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there. I mean, the car looks okay right now, but you probably lost whatever percent of downforce at the back of the car.
Well, Justin, you know, the other thing is, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it looks like he's been able to pull out a little bit. De Ferran had been able to pull back out a little bit more. Is the crew saying anything about damage? Have they seen anything on telemetry as far as temperatures perhaps in the diff or anything like that in the back end, perhaps having damage to that right rear suspension?
No, they're not reporting that there's anything showing up on their data, but one of the mechanics said to me, he said, it depends who you talk to. So that's a typical race team, and Gilles knows how to keep his team tight-lipped. But the other thing is, you remember as drivers, as the tire conditions change, as you do have something change maybe in the balance dynamics of your car, it takes you a few laps to actually recalibrate your driving style and start to understand how to overcome the problem. I think we're probably seeing that with Gilles right now. This is, I mean, he won Indy. He knows how to get his sort of ride back under control.
All right, as de Ferran tries to work his way back towards the front and stay in the front, make sure you can follow all of this by becoming a follower of the American Le Mans Series on Twitter. You get real-time information and receive up-to-the-minute tweets on the series, on the track and off the track ALMS notes. So check out AmericanLeMansSeries.com today and tweet us. De Ferran trying to hold on to that lead. Marino Franchitti leads in P2, Patrick Long and Guy Cosmo. Next Saturday, the Outlaws return to speed for the Firecracker 100, the greatest show on dirt. Don't miss the World of Outlaws late model series from Lernerville next Saturday, 3:30 Eastern, only on Speed. Expect to see a lot of trouble in those dirt track races, and a lot of trouble right now down in the Dyson camp. We saw the problems for the 16, now a problem for the 20 as well.
It doesn't want to leave the pits. We've talked to them about that before.
Justin?
It's very, very confusing pit stop because you can tell when they really don't know the source of the problem when they can't go to it. And they have the rear clip off on the 16. They had their data cable in for quite a long time, and the engineers are struggling. But it's odd when the 20 car went to pull in. They had a nice stop, but now they can't get it out of the pits. And it does start, Dorsey, but it just doesn't go. So what could that be? Is that something to do with the actuator or something? What's happening?
You know, I talked with them about that earlier on, and they were saying, you know, they don't know what this problem is. They come in and the car's running fine. They do their pit stop, and they start it up. It starts up fine. They try to take off, and it just dies, and then it doesn't want to do anything. I don't know if it's a heat sink problem. You know, something getting hot while that engine's shut off while they're fueling it, and then, oh, here's trouble. That's the challenge leader that's had contact with something.
Guy Cosmo had just been onto pit road not long ago and done their first pit stop, their driver change. John Baker taking over the wheel, and Didn't get very far before he made contact. That will bring out the first full course caution of the day, and it's at the perfect time. Look, that tire bundle over on the right.
Yeah, that doesn't belong there.
Where's it supposed to be?
It's supposed to be over here.
Whoops.
Yeah, that's a good clout, and I think that's what took out the Porsche radiator to guess. It looks like. And this is the first of these new front radiator Porsches I've seen that has hit one hard enough to do something to it.
Well, he definitely hit it a ton. John Baker from New York doesn't even own a car. He lives in New York City. I talked to him in Salt Lake City. He said, I don't drive very much. So, getting back in the car and going racing is especially challenging for me because I don't even drive that much. But you see the crew, Roger Hawley there looking inside from Orbit Racing.
Remember when these Porsches had the radiators right by the front tires and they'd break them all the time, but these new configured ones with the radiator back, that's a big hit.
Well, I talked to John Baker earlier in the weekend, and he was having so much fun racing alongside the American Le Mans Series cars that he decided he did want to race at Mid-Ohio. Originally, he wasn't going to do that one because of a business conflict, and then all of a sudden his team and everybody was booked to go to Mid-Ohio, judging by the results off of today. But after this incident, there's a lot of damage to the front end of that car, as you guys said, so I'm not sure we'll be seeing them at the next round.
Isn't it funny how you can move a business commitment and replace it with a race?
That doesn't usually last long. I've seen that go bad.
If it's your business, then perhaps it's a little bit easier to move. The competitors are dodging each other, but talk about dodging stuff. On board the 15 right now, we saw them with their problems earlier, and there's a look at the 47 right there.
Oh,
and you
good
see,
avoidance.
Boink.
Yeah, he just T-boned it. And a great job by the 15 to read that crash situation and go out in the grass around the outside of it.
The 20 car waiting to come back out, so obviously that car refired out of its pit stall, but now it's going to have to accelerate yet again. It doesn't want to have to stop at all, Dorsey.
Well, that's what's so frustrating, and the team doesn't understand what's happened to it because it's such an intermittent problem. They got to shut the engine off when they come in and get fuel and do a pit stop. Then it starts back up just like you're going to drive off, and the car, as soon as it starts to roll forward, boom, engine shuts off.
Well, the good news is the number 15 car struggling a bit with that gear issue, we believe. 58 laps in the books for them. For the 20 car, even with their problems, they've got 64 laps in the book. So a healthy lead right now, but they're going to have to stop again. And anytime that car stops, you're going to have to struggle with it if that launch control is indeed the problem.
Stay closed for one more lap.
That's just driver information. They actually changed the actuator on this car while it was in the pits. It wasn't shifting properly anymore on the electronic shifts. They put a new one on, so it's back up to speed again. However, they've lost a lot of time.
Now, it's going to be difficult for these crews to get those tires back over there. That is a lot of tires. You see them stacked 4 high, and it's a pretty good mass of them. Then they taper down.
Well, they're tied together, too, Brian, so, you can't just take them apart and bring them one by one. They're going to have to get a crane or one of the tow trucks to come and lift that whole bundle and bring it back over. You see a tow truck over here off to the right. They're going to have to lift that because those guys aren't strong enough to move that whole mass of tires.
You, of course, would be.
No, I couldn't move it with my car.
Well, we know a Porsche can move it, but it doesn't look like 3 individuals can move it. So like you said, they'll get that wrecker out there and get that taken care of. You look over on the left, you see that trackside walkway that Skip Barber and his group have put in, and the cars are very close to the racetrack. Down in turn 5, just before the uphill, another one of those trackside walkways, and some great spectator areas here. We talk about the park, and like I said, it is indeed a park-like setting, Dorsey.
Take a look at some of the other ones. This is all new improvements to the racetrack. The artificial hills built, that one that we're talking about up on top of the hill, you can get up there and you're looking right down. You can look right in the driver's eyes. I mean, it's a really, really nice place to get up and close with the race car.
And obviously very much a family environment here at Lime Rock Park. You can see how close these guys are standing right now as the cars flash by. I mean, almost feels like you can reach out and touch. And as you said, you can look right down into the driver's eyes. So, it has been known as the Road Racing Center of the Northeast for years, as long as I can remember it, Dorsey, and the track opened in 1957, so they have continued to keep the reputation up. The track has been improved over the years. Great crowd on hand. The weather couldn't be any better, and they're seeing a great battle right now. I mean, 22 cars out there. We've watched battles all around the racetrack.
Yeah, this is a wonderful racetrack to come to as a spectator. A lot of these people will camp out overnight. They got a little soggy, but here they are. They're having a good old time. But it's a good, there's action here. It's the same thing we're talking about and seeing on television is what they're seeing. I mean, there's constant action here.
on board right there with Wolf Hensler. We talk about highlights and the great racing that we've had. Well, let's take a look. We'll take you back to the very beginning at the drop of the green. The second time they attempted it was Gilles de Ferran, who was in the pole-sitting Acura, number 66, who takes the point down into turn 1. Scott Sharp in the number 9, dropping back a little bit in the early goings, and then a good battle between de Ferran, or I should say between Lowe's Fernandez Racing and Dyson Racing. You saw the 20 take over the lead. And then the number 16 working on the Lowe's Fernandez Acura as well. Down the front straightaway, thank you very much. I think I'll take that. Was the 15 dropping back because of problems? Looks like it, Dorsey.
Well, this is where the transmission wouldn't shift anymore. The actuator going bad. It's been replaced. Car's back out there.
Then a little bump and run in GT2. It looked like Pierre Cavre had to overslow a little bit there. Got balked by the number 12 in front. A little bump by Patrick Long. Long takes over the GT2 lead. And then problems for David Murray after a great run. They drop the car before the right rear wheel is off. David Murray takes off, and a problem for them ends their good run. And your overall leader is now on pit road. Gilles de Ferran brings the 66 to the pits. We'll have to see if they do anything with that body work in the back.
At the moment, Brian, they are not doing anything with the back, but as you know, there's always a sequence to the pit stops. These teams are very well organized right now when it comes to sprint race formats, but Simon Pagenaud getting in and a very sprightly Gilles de Ferran getting out. Now, as I look at the rear of the car, it really is, it's just as I said, it's actually the floor at the rear of the car which is also broken off. So I think our aero package is quite important, you know, so I think we're right, Dorsey, in the fact that they really lost efficiency at the rear.
See the 9 car in the pits as well under this full course caution, finishing their tires. The 66 on his way, so
excellent, Mike. Good
it got
job.
there.
Excellent.
Hear the crew saying excellent. It got there a little ahead of the 9. The pit stop was probably in about the same time. The one thing that this big break between Le Mans has given them between Salt Lake and Lime Rock was time to practice all that. And I know both the de Ferran team and the Patron Highcroft team spent a lot of time at the shop practicing pit stops. Crowd on hand, waiting for the drop of the green when we restart from here at Lime Rock Park. Round 5, we've seen plenty of action up to this point. Expect to see plenty more. The fans on hand, stick around. Speed's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by Mazda. On any given weekend, there are more Mazda's road race than any other brand. And by Racing Radios, the official radio communications provider of the American Le Mans Series. Still under full course caution, the first here at Lime Rock Park, and a little bit surprised by that, Dorsey?
Very surprised by that. You know, I really didn't think they'd go very far with all the congestion, all the traffic, but the boys are playing pretty well together today.
Yeah, I mean, with the exception, I know there's been a little bump and run from time to time. We saw the 45 and the 62 get together. You see the 36 on pit road, and they're sitting up on the jack stands because there's been a little bit of a penalty. The driver's not supposed to work on the car.
These guys in the Challenge Series are on their second race, and they're not used to the rules. In the GT3 Cup, they don't have those same rules, so they make a few mistakes.
See the wave by happening right now by the BMW pace car, getting things lined back up. And anytime you take a lot of time off, a lot of people begin to talk, and it's a good time for rumors. And we had a chance to talk to Dr. Don Panos about the economy in the rumor mill.
I think that we're like everybody else in the series as far as the economy goes. We have the same challenges with sponsorship or with teams and tough economic times. That part we all have to deal with. But as far as selling the series or selling the stuff, that's absolutely false. And in 2003, when I announced I was going to spend time in Australia, the same purveyors of those rumors said I was going to die. Here I am. I'm having a great time. The same purveyors of those rumors started a thing like this about a year ago. So I can just tell you that when those other car counts also go down, these rumors seem to appear out of nowhere. And it's absolutely not true.
We had been hearing rumors all weekend long, and actually all the way back to Le Mans and maybe even to Salt Lake City, that the series was for sale, and I had a chance to talk to Dr. Don and get his take on it. I loved his, they said I was going to die, and I'm still here. I'm still alive.
Dr. Don owns this series. It's his deal to sell or not sell. You just heard it from the cat's mouth. It's not for sale.
Well, we saw the 66 not only qualify on the pole, but have a great run early on. Gilles de Ferran had a little bit of excitement, Justin.
Well, you said it, leading from the pole is no easy thing to do at Lime Rock Park. Gilles, you got out of the car, actually quite sprightly, I said, but it was not an easy stint, was it?
No, definitely not. I mean, with the heat, it was actually good for the tires, but bad for the driver. And, you know, it's very hot out there. We're pushing very hard all the time. And traffic is so unbelievably tight. It makes it very, very difficult. And I had a couple of incidents. One where I sideswiped one of the other prototypes. I can't remember which one. It was a blue car. He didn't see me. And on the straight, we just touched.
What happened? What happened when the 16 car hit you from behind? Did it jump out of gear on you or something?
No. What happened was I got crossed up in the going into turn 5, and we're so tight in there, and I pressed by mistake the pit lane speed limiter button. So the engine stopped on the way out, and he hit me on the back, and I must apologize for that. It was my fault, and but that damaged our bodywork on the right rear, I believe. And that made the car a little bit more difficult to drive. We have a little bit more oversteer, particularly on the braking. But still, I mean, we were able to pull away from Scott again after the incident.
Just put it in perspective for people at home. Driving a car as fast as this, on a track as tight as this, with cars that are actually, in some cases, maybe 40, 50, 60 miles an hour slower, what is it like?
It's incredible. It's like warp speed. People come at you so quickly, particularly here at the end of the straight. A couple of times I think, oh, I'm okay. I'm only going to catch the guy in the next corner. And before you know, you're like, ah! You know, you see his tail lights right on your face. So it's really a difficult situation, I got to be honest with you. But, you know, it's been okay. Thankfully, knock on wood, hasn't been any serious incident.
Probably like the first lap of at Indy when the rookies are out. Okay, back to you guys in the booth.
Green, 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 green.
Green, green, green. We're back under racing here at Lime Rock Park. No one between David Brabham now behind the wheel of the 9 car and Simon Pagenaud, who leads in the 66. I heard someone once say that driving one of these cars around Lime Rock Park was like flying a fighter jet in your living room.
You cannot express to people how fast things fly, like what Gilles was talking about right there. Now what you're going to see is these guys have 3 laps to duke it out and see what they can get done before they catch the tail end of what is the back of this pack. It's about how long it takes to catch back up around here, 3 laps.
In the words of our friend Lee Diffie, it is on. David Brabham really on a high after that overall win this year at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. He said a couple of years ago, I need to up my game. And I think we saw it here at the racetrack. It was a new David Brabham, more focused, more determined, with a better mental attitude, I think, a stronger mental approach. And it has paid off big time. We'll see if he can track down the young Frenchman, Simon Pagenaud.
Well, I think this man, Simon Pagenaud, has upped everybody's game because, I mean, he's a very little-known guy. He hasn't been in the racing scene for a long time. But what he's showed us so far is this guy is wicked fast. He's very, very good at what he does. And everybody's going to have to step up to the next platform if they're going to run against a guy like Simon Pagenaud.
As they flashed down the back straightaway, we heard Gilles de Ferran say he hit the wrong button on the steering wheel. When you're flying around in the car, look at all these buttons you can hit.
Well, now the pit lane speed limiter is easy to hit. You know, it's
where?
When you're crossed up, my telestrator's not up where I was going to show you. It's the orange P button, and it's in a little collar, which makes it harder to hit. But when you're crossed up, that steering wheel is very small. When your hands go around half of a turn to try to catch the car, it's real easy for you to bump that. And then, of course, it puts you on the pit lane speed limit, which is about 45 miles per hour, and you get rear-ended as a result. I did that in the Audi. That was one of the problems I had when I drove the R8, was I couldn't, my hands were so big, if I got crossed up, I kept shutting everything off or turning everything on, depending on which one it was.
You see how advanced just the steering wheel is. Adam Larnack, who is the data acquisition guy for Autocon, had a great article on the American Le Mans Series website about the technological nature of the telemetry systems and how much is actually monitored on their new Lola. And I can only imagine it's the same thing on these cars. There are over 100 sensors and another 50 plus channels that are being monitored by the engineers and stuff. That's how technical these cars have gotten. Dorsey, when you and I first started driving, it was a steering wheel and a gear shift with an H pattern. But right now, David Brabham trying to keep up with Pagenaud, but Pagenaud beginning to pull away. Is this a sign of things to come? Will the 66 take yet another victory in the American Le Mans Series? Stick around and find out. They've won the last 2 in a row. Will they do the hat trick? We'll find out when we come back to Lime Rock Park. Make sure you don't miss a lap. Simon Pagenaud continues to lead round 5 of the American Le Mans Series from Lime Rock Park, but Dorsey, over the last couple of laps, it has been dramatic. We've talked all day about traffic and playing well with others, and that traffic works for you sometimes and works against you. Pagenaud has the lead. Brabham closes it down in traffic.
Now watch, he's flashing the lights. Let everybody aware, here I am now. Brab's on the inside, gets a big run. But look, the Ferrari's got them both blocked. Nothing can be done here. They're racing position 2. Now, Pagenaud gets the better of that, takes a run past the Porsche and the Ferrari.
So they were nose to tail. Take a look at it here. This is from on board the 66, looking backwards, side by side.
Actually, Brab's in the lead. Yeah, he had the lead, but now the Ferrari's right in front with nowhere to go. Both cars blocked.
And the Ferrari's fighting for second in GT2, so he's not just going to stop and let him go. Your GT2 leader is Joey Hand in one of the BMWs.
This is what it looks like from the outside, from the hillside. If you're a spectator, you tell me this isn't exciting. I mean, inches within 3-4 cars.
And think about this. Brabham, it takes the lead right here in turn 1, and by the time it's all said and done, he's 5 seconds back.
Yeah, now look here. Here we are. We're working to the outside. The Ferrari. Ferrari moves over. Now I'm blocked. Can't do anything. Pagenaud's to my inside. Here he goes.
I had it. I don't have it. Yep. And now, not only did I have it, look at what's going to happen to David Brabham. There goes your leader.
Yeah, and watch. He's not going to be by yet. It's going to take a little bit longer. All those guys were frustrated with one another.
Yeah. So the 44 in there, the 62 was hung up behind the 44, one of the other Flying Lizard Porsches with Seth Nyman behind the wheel. So the 62 has dropped back a little bit because of a late pit stop. So he's behind the 90.
And you know what's really weird about that whole scenario? We looked at it from 4 different angles. You know what was wrong with it? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody did a thing wrong there.
It's 1.5 miles of racetrack in 4 classes is what it is.
Not a single driver did a wrong move in that whole deal. They all held each other up. They all were racing each other. But, I mean, they didn't crash as a result of all of them were heads up.
And they played well together.
They might hate each other
for
it. They're not happy with each other, but they did what they needed to do.
You just saw the closing speed of Pagenaud going past one of the Flying Lizard Porsches. I believe that might be the 44 again. But you just see it. I mean, the LMP1 cars are so much faster, not only than the GT2 cars, but what about the ALMS Challenge cars?
I mean, you look as forward as you can, and you try to judge, you know, what's going on in front of you, what do I have to do? But it just, there's too much going on in too small a space of place. Space and time, whatever.
You heard the crew, 6.1 seconds. So in a lap, after David Brabham was side by side with him, it's 6.1 seconds because of the traffic. Looking down into turn 5, tight right-hander that goes 5, 6, 7 there very quickly. There's your leader going past the Van der Stur entry right now, the number 19 LMP2. There's the 48. We talked about the Corsa Motorsports team, that Janetta Zytek, the hybrid. Stefan Johansson behind the wheel, running 3rd right now, Dorsey.
Car's running really well. Like you said, early in the race, it lost its shock cover plate there, so aerodynamically it's just not as pure as it might want to be, but 3rd place is good for this car. I mean, this is really their first outing in this configuration.
Well, Dorsey, you said it. This is a revolutionary piece of machinery running under the hybrid power. Johnny Mullen, you had the privilege of being the first driver to compete with the hybrid power. How was it?
I mean, you're right. It's a momentous occasion for us, not just for the sort of historical value, but also for Steve Pruitt and the entire Corsa Motorsport team. They've worked so hard to get here. In Salt Lake City, we demoed it, but we weren't allowed to race it because of the FIA homologation, which basically means they haven't done all the safety side of things. Now we've homologated last weekend, and so we're here. And the car ran absolutely brilliantly, and we're running 3rd overall, obviously 3rd in LMP1. The Acuras have a little bit too much for us, but we're kind of at that stage where it's like 1 step backwards to take 2 steps forward, but I'm just delighted that the car's running as well as it is, and fingers crossed we get a podium.
And when you switch the car over to the hybrid power, can you feel a difference in the way the car runs?
It's a very good question, because the one thing everyone thinks is, oh, you've got to instant, but we're not allowed to use a button. The ACO dictates it has to be programmed through the throttle. But it's not just about the boost, it's about the regen as well, because it throws the brake bias very much to the rear of the car. So, and that with the 12 kilo electric motor in the middle of the bell housing at the back makes the car very unstable in the rear. So we're fighting to change the setup to compensate for that. I don't think it's any secret. If we took the hybrid off, we'd probably be quicker right now, but that's not the point. We're trying to develop this and move it forward. Ultimately, this is the quicker way to go. It's just going to take time.
And its time is what they're being given right now. Developing this technology in the American Le Mans Series, racing has always been good for that.
Well, they need to find speed right now, because John Field, he's by. That looked almost easy. Field had been hunting down Stefan Johansson. He takes over the third position, Dorsey.
That car is so complex, Brian. Even if I tried to explain it to people at home, very few people. 15's got a flat left front. Now luckily it's a short racetrack, so he's going to be on pit lane in a second. But
and the one thing that we've seen over the years about these Michelin tires is that the carcass usually stays together. We've seen tires in the past come apart, and that carcass basically turns into a saw blade, which rips the bodywork apart.
And I'm sure this is a puncture. You know, this racetrack is so tight, so small, that all of the debris coming off these race cars as they rub and punch each other around lays out there just ready to take out a tire, and they do it a lot. You get a lot of flat tires there.
15 car running 14th overall. And they had problems earlier with the shifting problem, and now the tire issue. And like you said, Dorsey, probably a puncture.
They've broken the rub strip off the left-hand side, and there's
As you said, they definitely came with a front left-hand flat tire, and if you take a look at it down here, it's really ripped, but it did stay on the carcass, and that was a great thing, a testament to Michelin's. And certainly talking to the Michelin engineers, they really think that they're going to be able to, in some races they could almost go the three stints, the 3 hours on one set, but obviously with yellow flags and things, not that much of a strategy. But I have to tell you, a brilliant thing about the Acura engine program is they've just, not including this race, completed 3 qualifyings and 3 races with the same engine. There's a new, obviously, engine in for this race, and they're going to run this for the upcoming 3 races. I think that's a testament, guys, just to how far developed this Acura P2 program has been.
Looks like changing the front nose, too. I don't know if perhaps it was rubbed through there on the left front after the flat tire, but they're going to take a chance to put a new nose, and that also has the splitter underneath it, the under tray on it here, Dorsey. Let's see if we can see what happens.
See if we can hear anything.
There it goes.
Smoke, it's gone. Left front's down. Does the right thing there. Doesn't even attempt to make the corner. Goes to old circuit.
Adrian's so experienced that, a less experienced guy might have tried to turn in, which probably would have only gotten you halfway through the corner. See him as he goes through the uphill. And I think probably just the damage that they think might have happened to that front splitter is worth changing it. They're running second right now in P2, third right now in the P2 category, just a lap back is Adam Pecorari in the Vanderstur Racing Radical. So Adrian needs to get back out. They need to get their lap times, but it's Butch Leitzinger who leads overall in the LMP2 category, several laps up ahead. So while we sit and look at Adrian Fernandez get back on the racetrack, we've got the advantage of looking at timing and scoring here in the booth, but you can have it too. You can follow the race closer than ever with the American Le Mans Series. Live timing and scoring. You keep track of overall and class leaders, intervals, driver changes, fast laps, more. Visit fanfriendlyamericanlemans.com and look for Race Hub for the live timing link. Simon Pagenaud having it all his way right now. Can the team make it 3 in a row? Back at Lime Rock Park for round 5 of the American Le Mans Series. If you're a fan of the American Le Mans Series and Le Mans type racing, you know that we just completed the Le Mans 24-hour. Now these competitors come to Lime Rock Park. You couldn't put the two further apart, not only miles-wise, but the length of the racetrack and what that means for the drivers, the teams, and the manufacturers as well. Jamie?
Well, Brian, during that 24 hours of Le Mans, the Michelin tire teams logged over 101,000 miles just in the race alone. That's 70 miles per Michelin team. This weekend, Michelin's estimating that their teams are going to rack up somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500 miles. But here at Lime Rock, they move They use the tires more aggressively over the curbs with the tight corners, and while the challenges are very different, Michelin is hoping for that same winning reaction.
Yeah, that's a great point, Dorsey. You think about Le Mans and you think about the Mulsanne Straight and the speeds there, you know, up close to 200 miles an hour, maybe over 200 miles an hour. The speeds here for a P1 car, maybe 160 miles an hour, something like that. So a big difference there. And you can't just bolt the same round black tire on. It's got to be purpose-built for the facility, the track that you're running on.
I mean, Le Mans, you're sitting there most of your whole lap, which is 8.5 miles around, wide open in a straightaway. Here, you're mostly in corners for 1.5 miles. There is no straightaway at Lime Rock of any significant length, so the tires are really getting worked out in the corners where they do the damage most.
We've looked at many of the different classes. Let's take a look at the ALMS Challenge class right now.
It's Martin
57.
Snow. Yeah, it's Martin Snow driving behind the wheel right now. Winner of the last time out. Him and his wife Melanie do a great job. Live out in Utah. Know that racetrack like the back of their hand. This is their first experience with this race car here.
Melanie said it had been 11 years since she had been to Lime Rock Park, and obviously the racetrack has changed since then with the additions of turn 5, 6, and 7, and then the 8, 9 complex as well up at the top of the hill. But they're very adept at learning very quickly, and they certainly have done that. I asked earlier, I said, can you make it 2 in a row? And she said, I don't know. It's going to certainly be a challenge for us, but we'll find out.
I just think that for all of us mirror gentlemen, we have a certain empathy in the Snow camp here, because I watched something fantastic yesterday, because as we know, Mr. Snow damaged the car a little bit in one of the practice sessions, and when he came to get out, Melanie gave him a piece of her mind, actually. And I thought to myself, you know what, I gave up tennis because I didn't like playing with my wife. So here they are, and they have to share the checkbook at the end of the day. So I think they do an amazing job, but these two are very serious. The Robertsons are serious, but Melanie and her husband, they have had tremendous success, and believe it or not, they are as intense as any other couple, male or female, on the pit road.
You know, it was Melanie who resurrected the racing career in the Snow family. They had retired and went about building their lives and their family, and she said, you know what, it's time to go get us a race car again. And by God, they did.
And he said, yes, ma'am. Right now on board the 87 with Wolf Hensler, the Farnbacher-Lowell's Porsche, trying to chase down Dominic Farnbacher in the 21, the Panos Esperante LM GT. That is the battle for 5th in the GT2 category. The Panos, the black and red car there in front, and the silver and black and red Porsche with Hensler behind the wheel. Wolf Hensler won here last year, driving with Jörg Bergmeister, but running this year with Farnbacher-Lowell's. He's a Porsche factory driver, so he drives where they tell him to drive. And this Panos has really been running well this year, Dorsey.
Well, I talked with these guys. The car is very good in the straightaway, as you can see right here. They've fought all this weekend long. Lime Rock is a track that is hard to get a grip on, too, somewhat like Mid-Ohio. The car tends to understeer, and it understeers really badly right here through turn 1, through turn 2. Now, once you get to the uphill section, then the Panos is happy up there. It's really good on that end of the racetrack. And look at these P1, P2 cars come flying through here.
Yeah, I had the same conversation with Tom Milner, and he said, you know, Yokohama's done a great job with the tires. We have a much better tire this year. We still have a ways to go with the front tire. We don't feel like we're getting the performance that we need out of it, but as they continue to develop it, the better off we think we'll be. And they've had some great runs, 2 third-place finishes, Sebring and St. Pete, and then a 4th at Salt Lake City. So they have run well. They're not always the fastest car out there, but the other thing they've done is they've been very clean, very heady, and you would expect somebody like Tom Milner Sr. to have great strategy on the board, and that's exactly what they've done, and they're getting the results.
We talk about the developments, and this team has been working on this car endlessly since Salt Lake City. As you said, the car's 14 pounds lighter than it was on track at Salt Lake. But this car is also a 5-year-old car, so there isn't a whole lot left to find in it. But this team, PTG, is still doing a tremendous job of getting every last bit out of it.
And 14 pounds doesn't sound like much weight to lose in a car, but let me tell you, when you're building a race car and you're building to a minimum spec, 14 pounds, you'll do anything to get it. Oh, good aggressive driving right there.
Yeah, and I think he's going to have to give it to him. You saw Wolf Hensler just get down inside Dominic Farnbacher. They're great friends. Dominic Farnbacher part of that Farnbacher-Lowell's team. Obviously, you recognize the name. The 18 in there as well. The 18 a lap down, but fighting his way back through. Wants to improve after the problems that they had early on. But like I said, Dominic Farnbacher, his father, a part of that Farnbacher-Lowell's team, but driving for the Panos organization. So he knows Wolf Hensler very well and did a great job running together and keeping it clean, but Hensler finally got the best of him.
These GT cars, you got to watch that side-to-side banging because the wheels don't have much offset, which means that the valve stem itself sticks out, and you can knock one of those off. When you hit side-to-side, you get an immediate flat tire as a result. Those guys got away with it that time.
That's Richard Westbrook in the white and magenta Porsche that you saw flash by for VC Racing. Westbrook had a second place finish here in his ALMS debut last year, so VC Racing looking to make their mark as well. Pagenaud continues to lead, but what a great run for Dyson Racing. Jörg Bergmeister looking for 4 wins in ALMS competition. He'll be the first driver to do it here at Lime Rock Park. Big Block Thursday on Speed is all new this Thursday, beginning at 8 with Pinks all out from No Problem Raceway in Louisiana. Then at 9, it's Jack, a car hijacking at gunpoint. And at 10, on Wrecked, an O'Hare crew member faces a life-threatening challenge. Big Block Thursday on Speed, Thursday at 8. Oh, and problems for Joey Hand.
I got an idea about this.
do you think it might have been someone else?
Yeah, I think it might have to do with that car, but I'm not sure yet.
Now we'll have to see, and he's lucky to get the car back on track. As damp as it is, he's gotten it out and back on the racing surface, but that was in turn 2, at the exit of turn 2. We've had a great battle back and forth between Joey Hand and the 62 of Jamie Mello. They'd battled back and forth. It was the 62 in front of the 90, but the 90 took it back just a couple of laps ago, Dorsey. Watch this move.
Yeah, it's a good draft by down the straightaway. You see damage in the front of the Ferrari. We were thinking maybe that had to do with this, but it doesn't. Joey Hand with a great run, comes around, gives him a little tap. This is brilliant, perfect. Moves the Ferrari outside, moves underneath it. That's why I thought when I saw him in the ditch.
I don't know that they touched there, but let's take a look here. This is the very next lap.
Kind of a counter move down the inside. 3 wide doesn't work here, boys.
Oh, and the 11 car, he has to sneak inside. He just gets a little loose. They never touched it, but I think Joey had to try to get it in there to keep the 11 to the outside, and it's gone.
He tightened his hands up to try not to get into the side of the car, and when he did, it just not enough traction.
Yep.
He takes this ride. I'm sorry to Jamie Mello. I thought he might have helped on that, but he did nothing wrong.
I think it was a good thought.
Yeah, I thought he was going to get a little payback, but who knows?
Oh, and that's got to be so frustrating for Joey Hand. He's dropped all the way back to 4th in class. 4th in class right now. He had moved all the way up to 2nd, and then the problem, they just need some luck.
The team did tell me that number 90 machine, everything still feels okay on board, so they're not expecting to have to come in to take a look at anything. They said Joey's just a hard racer. He's out there racing as hard as he can, trying to get that podium today.
Well, Joey Hand, not the only one with a problem on the racetrack a few minutes ago. We also saw a problem for the VC Racing entry of Richard Westbrook. It got involved a little bit. The 21 was a part of that melee as well. Take a look down here in tight turn 5. Oh, the 48 was there. The 48 and the 18 got together, and it looks to me like the 21 just got on the brakes. Dominic Farnbacher said, I don't want any part of that.
Well, you go into that corner and you realize there's 6 cars here, boys. We're not all going to make it, and inevitably somebody will bump somebody, or you'll get side-to-side contact and cut a tire down. We saw Richard Westbrook's car was in with flat tires. I suspect now we know what happened there.
Yeah, it was the 48 alongside of the 18, and I don't think Richard Westbrook knew that Johansson was out there on the outside. That's where that contact happened, and we saw Dominic Farnbacher just get on the brakes to try to avoid it. He spun. Unfortunately, he stalled there at the apex, and it took quite a while to get it restarted. Right behind him right now is the 45 Flying Lizard Porsche as you ride on board the 66. Your overall leader, Simon Pagenaud. Action everywhere. We said there would be.
Watch this, Brian. On board one of the very fastest car out here, and watch how hard it is for to make passes. I mean, you're going by the fastest GT2 car and the fastest overall car, the P1 car, and that wasn't that bad.
Now the speed is made in the corner right there. The 45 Jörg Bergmeister behind the wheel right now, the 21. This is not for position because of the problems that Dominic Farnbacher had down there trying to avoid the problem. We talk about Jörg Bergmeister. If he was able to win here today, he'd become the first American Le Mans Series driver to win 4 American Le Mans Series races at this racetrack. Several other racetracks have as many as 6 different winners, Dorsey, and I think that just speaks to the challenge of this racetrack, that the most anybody's ever won here in ALMS competition has been 3 times so far.
Yeah, it's tough, and Jörg sits with 3 right now. If you could win again today, that would put him 4, and there's not many guys that have raced at this racetrack that have accumulated that many wins. One of them's in this race. I think the winningest driver ever here in pro racing is Butch Leitzinger on the Dyson team. I think he's got 7 wins, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, Bill Auberland has 10 in professional competition here, but not in ALMS competition.
Right,
so yeah, I mean, guys have wins here, but when you look at ALMS competition, Jörg Bergmeister could be the first to win here in a class 4 times.
It's a tough racetrack to get the handle on, to get the rhythm on. Once you do have a good way around here, you can win pretty consistently here. You have to have a lot of patience, no doubt about that.
And the interesting thing is, Jörg Bergmeister says he doesn't really like this racetrack very much. There's a look at the 44, the team car. Johannes van Overbeek behind the wheel right now, running back in 18th overall.
Well, I checked in with that team earlier. That is a brand new chassis after all the damage that they had at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. They went ahead and replaced that chassis. They had to. But Johannes van Overbeek, he actually did all of the shakedown work on both the 44 and the 45 car coming into this weekend. And it's kind of like when you buy a new pair of shoes. At first, everything's a little bit stiff. It needs to be broken in order for everything to fit just right. But that's exactly what this team is doing today. They're getting the car in line for the rest of the championship this season.
You see them working through. We understand the 45 is a new chassis as well. There is a look at the number 11, Chris Hall, behind the wheel right now.
They are actually in an interesting predicament this weekend, predicament being maybe too severe, where they've always sort of run on Dunlop tires, and they made the switch to Yokohama for this weekend, purely for performance reasons with their chassis. And as we've all experienced, when you develop a car and they've really worked, on their primetime racing Viper, and they've got it handling as well as they could on that setup, and now they changed to Yokohamas, and it takes a while to bed that in. And Chris is a really excellent driver, and he's been leading the developments on that car, but I think you're going to see it all sort of reset to zero and starting again. So switching tires mid-season, even with the break we've had, offers up some challenges. So I think we're going to see them looking a bit better at Mid-Ohio.
Chris Hall could barely walk at Salt Lake City. It turns out he went to the hospital as soon as he got home. He had some chips and a vertebrae in his back, and the doctor said, I don't know how you're not paralyzed, because they're literally stabbing into your spinal cord. They did surgery, and he said, I literally walked out of the hospital. I felt so much better. I'm so much better right now. He said, even after the surgery, the recuperation has been not a problem. His teammate Joel Feinberg won the IMSA Lights race early today. So Feinberg had an IMSA Light race earlier. He's going to compete here in the ALMS race in GT2, and then another IMSA Light race later. The Northeast Grand Prix, Simon Pagenaud right there, Butch Leitzinger, and the Michelin Green X Challenge. Don't forget, it's a part of it as well. The fans, they're having a good time here at the park. Your ride with David Brabham from Lime Rock Park, and let's take a quick look at the Michelin Green X Challenge as it stands right now in the prototype category. DeFerrin Motorsports has taken over the lead, and just like it is on the racetrack, DeFerrin in front, Highcroft Racing in second, Lowe's Fernandez there in third for the prototype category. In the GT class, Flying Lizard, the 45 car, which leads with Jörg Bergmeister behind the wheel, also leading in the Michelin Green X Challenge. So a good day all around for Flying Lizard Motorsports. And this battle up front has really closed down. We had seen traffic kind of take a little bit away from David Brabham several laps ago, but he has closed back up just 1.5 seconds at the line the last time by, and this time by, we'll wait for the gap, 1.5 seconds yet again. So using traffic to his advantage, Brabham able to whittle away at the lead.
They're watching the lap times, Brian. They're coming down. Simon Pagenaud, lap before this, was at a 48.70. That's a really fast lap. That both cars just went through 49.5s. But remember, there's traffic out there.
And David Brabham on a hot streak. Look at 2008. that win, 24 Hours of Le Mans, the GT1 win, Lime Rock overall win, Road America P2 win, Mosport win, and it just continued into 2009, the St. Pete overall win, and then, of course, the big one. What would you give for that?
A lot. 24-hour Le Mans win. I mean, how much better does it get than that?
You know, and it was just fascinating to listen to David, all the work that he did, 3 30-hour tests.
Look at that.
Oh, man, the Van der Stur LMP2 car comes to pit road. That was close.
Did you see that?
That was a near disaster right there. The Van der Stur car was slow enough to come into pits. It was in the middle of the road. It wasn't off to the driver's right where you're supposed to enter the pits from.
Yeah, Adam Pecorari behind the wheel had let the car track out a little bit. Pagenaud thought he was tracking out to the normal line, so went around him on the right, and that was close. But we were talking about David Brabham and all the work that he had done, 3 30-hour tests, and he said, I didn't even do all of them. And what about going from an enclosed diesel-powered prototype to this open cockpit Acura ARO-X?
It's really different, too, because of the fact that this new car has the rear tires and the front tires are the same size tire. And this has so much huge amount of front grip compared to what the Peugeot had, which is much more of a straight line speed, more of a balance. Here, right on with this car, you see how fast it really is. Closing speed's phenomenal. Well, let's replay that Van der Stur thing. This is a dangerous situation. Look at the speed here. Now, there's Van der Stur's car making a pit.
Out.
And see, I mean, he was right in the middle of the road going nowhere.
If you're going to pit, you need to stay driver's right, so the guy behind you knows that you're not going to be over there at all.
Well, guys, the last time that car was actually raced was in St. Petersburg of last year, but the team reassures me it hasn't just been sitting there collecting dust. They have been working on it, developing, doing a little bit of testing. Right now, they're just going to take it race by race, but that was a very close call. Could have ended all hopes of them making the grid at Mid-Ohio.
I mean, normally you'd slow the car up, but before you slow the car up, you get your hand in the air, you look in your rearview mirror, make sure nobody's there, you get all the way off driver's right, and then you slow the car up. But that didn't happen in this case, and that was a near catastrophe for our overall leader.
Gunnar Van der Stur climbing behind the wheel right now. It was Adam Pecorari that was behind the wheel just moments ago when they did come to pit road. And you know, you talk about it, all 4 wheels being the same size. This is what these cars were designed for, Dorsey. I mean, that's the whole design package around this Acura, was so that the car will handle, and that may be why he was able to make that a nice aggressive move and get it done and not become a part of that problem there. Take a look from onboard.
Yeah, you talk about scary. Watch this. Oh, you talk about closing rate. Wow. And then I heard him on the radio. Did you see that? Yeah. He asked his crew, did you see that?
Well, and that's what's amazing. He has the wherewithal to stay calm and just make that report. You know, the other thing that David Brabham said about the Peugeot was that the diesel power was very quiet. Obviously, this is a petrol-powered car, so it's got a lot of noise to it. And he said it's just a very different environment, completely different. And look at the gap.
Well, you know, these cars were built for here in the United States. These Acuras are built for the racetracks that we run on here with that big front tire. It's maximized its cornering ability and its braking ability, and it sacrificed its straight line speed. When you build a car for Le Mans, like the Peugeot was built, you build it for straight line speed because of the long straightaway there. So the 2 cars, although they run the same class, they're total opposites.
And Acura was very upfront about it when the car came out. I know a lot of fans said, well, why isn't Acura going to Le Mans? Quite simply put, this car wasn't designed to run there. They said when it was debuted at the Sebring Winter Test, look guys, it's only designed to run here in the United States. It's designed for shorter racetracks. We understand the nuances that American tracks have, and that's why we built it the way that we did. David Brabham now just about a second and a half behind. It really hasn't changed much.
Both cars in the low 48s right now. That's fast lap times right now in this part of the race.
We guys talk about how upfront Acura was when they unveiled this new P1 car, but Patron Highcroft Racing has been very upfront this weekend with the statistics of this car around the Lime Rock Park circuit. They've told us that the fastest turn for them is turn 7, but they are at full throttle, 100% throttle for 61% of each lap that they run here. There's very little time to catch their breath, and they have 16 gear shifts per lap, and that's over 1,100 gear shifts per each stint. So it's an incredibly physical track on both the driver and the car.
Pretty amazing when you think about the speed through the corner there. That would be the diving turn, and that cornering speed 130 miles an hour, and that's not a steady speed, that's accelerating through there. They're coming off of that last tight group of corners down the hill through the diving turn and on the mat.
Well, you know, they put those corners up there. They don't want us to call them a chicane, but they put those corners up there to slow the cars on the downhill run. Most of the drivers concur they'd rather have had it like it was before, because it was a place on this racetrack at Lime Rock that had personality, a place where a driver with huge amount of ego and a huge amount of skill could make a big gain. Right now you see what happens is everybody gets there the same, and it just congests the whole racing. There's the GT2 cars staying out of line because he sees all these cars coming, I think.
Yeah, interesting, and that's exactly what he wanted to do, but it'll be interesting. He didn't slow down much to do it. Now, if they're going to look at that and they'll say, did he gain any time? I doubt they'll say anything, because you saw that swarm of prototypes there. He needed to avoid him. It was probably the right decision. I imagine the officials will look at that one and say, good call, Jamie Mello.
If I was in the Ferrari looking back at these three hungry beasts coming down on me, I think I would do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Let me out of here.
Man,
now, here's trouble. Here's trouble. Watch this. You can see the frustration that the drivers have when they catch a slower car like that. You know, you've got somebody breathing down your neck, and you have to make things happen, and you don't have time to negotiate with these slower guys. You have to just force the hand.
The problem for the 48, Stefan Johansson pitting out a third, or it may actually just be the last pit stop with 45 minutes to go. They should certainly be good to go. Johansson sitting in the car right now, communicating with the crew members, and you see that shock cover that's missing there on the front doors. He really doesn't seem to have impeded their progress
And
today.
you wonder why they wouldn't put another one on. I would almost just be willing to bet they haven't found that one yet, and they don't have another one.
And or the latch system has broken, so they don't have the opportunity to do that. So Johansson, with a great debut of the hybrid system here, this will be his last pit stop, easily able to do the 46 minutes that remain in this race. It'll be just under 46 minutes by the time the car hits the racetrack.
Which what they're doing now, other than racing this race and doing a darn good job of it, is they're gathering data on this brand new system. They've never run it before.
Well, we see the crew doing this pit stop right now, much more orchestrated than at Salt Lake City. They've had a few months now to play with this car back at the shop, learn how it all works, get the routine down for this team knows that they're not going to come out here and win the race. That's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to develop this technology and hopefully make it available on other race cars down in the future.
Well, thanks, Jamie. It's great to be here at Lime Rock Park, and the fans are on hand. A lot of them down in the paddock this weekend. If you can't make it to the race, you can certainly still get paddock access. After the race, take the Paddock Pass poll on AmericanLeMans.com to vote for turning point of today's Northeast Grand Prix. The new series website is more interactive than ever, including frequent fan poll inquiries. So log on now at AmericanLeMans.com and let your voice be heard. Simon Pagenaud continues to lead, but it has been a tight one here at Lime Rock Park, just what we expected. The battle for the lead has heated up, and traffic has definitely been a part of it here, Dorsey. It's been a part of it all day long. There's an ebb and flow, and it was 0.05 seconds at the line the last time by. Pagenaud will extend the lead, maybe a second and a half sometimes when traffic works for him, and when it works against him, David Brabham right there on the back of the 66.
Unbelievable. 2 hours in, pit stops done, fueling done, and this is the lead battle. Not even 1 second separates first and second, and traffic up ahead.
I think there's going to be one more pit stop for both.
Simon, 8 more laps before we'll be pitting.
There you have it. 8 more laps before we'll be pitting. Both cars get stuck in traffic down in turn 1 that time. Now David Brabham will have to clear the number 11 Primetime Viper. Pagenaud already through. It's just been spectacular over the last several laps. You want to take a look at it. Imagine what these guys are having to work with and what they're thinking. Look at Brabham all over the back.
That's because there's someone up ahead. Watch. You'll see in a minute a pass will be made. There goes the car, the Ford GT40. Brabs gets held up. Look at the loss in speed and time.
He was right there, and now he's gone. It's just amazing how you can get it. And now, when he catches traffic down in turn 1, Simon Pagenaud is going to catch a little traffic.
Yeah, if he's catching up from behind, guess what? You're being held up. Who is it? We'll know in a second. There we go. The Lizard's car, the 44 was in the way. I say in the way, not in the way. I mean, it's on the same racetrack.
And there's the 18. Brabham's caught him. Now the 18 right there for just a second. Once again, he loses a position or a car length or 2. More traffic, closes right back up.
You know, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. When you catch the traffic, if you're the lead car, your decision is, do I go in there now, put my nose in, or do I back off and ride it? And that's what you have to do, and you have to keep it going every corner.
And if you're David Brabham, I think you're hoping that Pagenaud catches the traffic at the wrong time, and you're going to be able to get that run on to 4th place in GT2 on pit road. Wolf Hensler behind the wheel. That should certainly be his final stop.
Yeah, that looked pretty routine as they were all done, and away he goes.
Brabham down the front straightaway one more time, and I know there's a lot of anxiety on pit lane.
A tremendous amount of anxiety on pit lane. Scott, you're the only one amongst all of us that knows exactly what's going through DB's mind. It's amazing out there, isn't it?
It is. It's a real seesaw with the traffic. You know, one lap, obviously, you just watch. Simon gets a break and David gets stuck behind a couple guys, and just enough that he pulls a 2-second gap. The next lap, the opposite happens. David's right back on his bumper. So it's just about waiting for that opportunity. He can hopefully make, pounce and make a move.
Well, we knew at Salt Lake, I mean, the races preceding this have been building up to a head-to-head last lap confrontation. And as fans, we've all been waiting for it. And I know as drivers you have. I think we're setting up for that now. I don't want to jinx it, but you both have damaged cars. Rear end, wing end plate, I think, on yours, and Pagenaud has damage at the rear of the car. Both cars are a little maimed, so we're going into this with really equal footing apart from the traffic.
Yeah, I mean, the cars are very equal. The team shares setup, so we know the cars are, they're turning the same kind of lap time. So it's just going to boil down to this last stop. It's going to come soon, and then what kind of brakes get in traffic.
Stop biting your nails. See you at the finish.
Well, Justin talked about damage, and while we were in that interview with Scott Sharp, it looked to me like perhaps David Brabham got together with the 21, the Panos, up at the top of the hill on the 789 complex, Dorsey.
He did, in fact. The Panos looked like he actually turned in to try to block David's progression. They made contact, and you were riding on board as they were doing the nice pit lane discussion down there, and the fender top blew off. There's a big hole at the top of Brab's fender.
See that damage to the left front. Now that will affect the downforce on the car. Actually, the more opening you get, the more front downforce you get, if I'm correct there, Dorsey. But this, to me, I wonder about the structural capability right now of that piece. It's not just blown out a couple of louvers, it's taken some out.
That's exactly what I would say too, Brian. That's more than just like the debris, the rubber coming up. It's knocked a big hole right there. But more than that on the side, if you look at the side view down through here, you're going to find a big gaping hole there, and there's nothing up front holding it. Better look at it right through here.
And no side support there. It's like you said, it's not just the louvers that have gone out. So Brabham now fighting with that car a little bit. Justin talked about it. Both cars a little bit of damage.
These cars blow the center sections of those fenders out pretty regularly. I mean, what happens is a balled up rubber gets up in there, and it has not a lot of clearance between the tire top, and it just blows through there. It makes it pretty weak. But look at what we're talking about, because this is where I don't know if it was an intentional block, but watch. Here's the traffic. Now look, see, there's the Panos.
Just that little
They
bump.
definitely rub. Just a little rub. You saw the Panos turn sideways. Now watch. Stay with that fender. Take a look right here. Get on the straightaway, and here comes the air pressure. It's getting bigger, bigger, bigger. See ya.
And you saw that vibration start as soon as the contact was made up at the top. And I think you're right, Dorsey. It took the support on the outside away, and now we've seen that break away. So it'll be interesting. Will the team change the nose on the pit stop?
Well, Justin was talking about before how sensitive these cars. They were built completely by fluid dynamics, like a wind tunnel, to have all these aero things in place. When you lose parts of those things, those aero bits, you don't know what happens. I mean, only the guys that have built this car can tell us right now what that's going to affect. Is it going to understeer more? Are we going to have too much front downforce and get the back end loose? I mean, it's very, very delicate racetrack right here, the race cars.
Pagenaud working through GT2 traffic. He went past the white number 90 BMW of Joey Hand, who's worked his way all the way back up to third. It's the 45 of Jörg Bergmeister who continues to lead. There's the number 18 VC Racing Porsche with Richard Westbrook behind the wheel. And that gap has extended to 9 seconds, it looks like, the last time by. So definitely slowed that contact. And that traffic bunch up there at the top of the hill has held up David Brabham. You hear him say, pit this time.
Now, only the guys that built this car will know whether they'll change the that piece or not on Brabham. That wasn't Brabham we listened to. That was actually the 66. Simon Pagenaud is on pit lane for the last time.
On the brakes hard. You saw tire smoke there as he tried to get the car down to the speed limit. Now, I'm sure they're telling David Brabham, go as fast as you can, because you need to try to gain up some of that ground that you lost, but he's already caught in traffic again. And the pit stop taking place down at 66.
All these guys, I'm sure, will take tires.
Still
fueling.
Yeah, they're literally, the suspense is fantastic because this is the pivotal pit stop for the 66 car, and they're waiting at the minute the fuel nozzle comes off, and he's just put his drinks bottle, which just fell inside the air vent. Now the tire men go to work, and it's just a choreograph. They practice this a lot, and in sports cars in the old days, it never used to be this tight, but right now we have Formula One in the shape of ALMS Racing. Tires are on, very neat. Pagenaud's got clean bikes, and off they go. Beautiful stop, fabulous.
All clear behind.
All clear, they say on the radio. But Justin, did you see?
Coming up on your outside now. Cross coming up outside left.
There goes David Brabham. Can he get around him? No, he couldn't put him a lap down, and that's important because David wanted that extra space when he makes his pit stop. But Justin, my question for you was, with only 34 minutes in the race, was that a timed fuel fill down there? Because certainly Simon Pagenaud did not need a full tank of fuel.
It was a time fuel. They put in exactly the right amount, which I think was causing the mechanics even a bit more suspense on the air guns. You know what I mean? They're waiting to go, so they did exactly what they had to do. And De Ferran certainly got some clever boys out there to work that out. It'll be very interesting to see what they do about the front clip on the Patron car, as you guys just mentioned. But can they afford to change it? And I think Brabs by now will have got a handle on whether his car handling has actually been impacted too much and warrants a change, you know what I mean?
Well, there's new tires coming in, Brian. You see right now as he drives around, that communication from the pits was crucial because when Simon came out of there.
So David Brabham now, the tire's not up to temperature, perhaps on the 66. Brabham has put the 66 a lap down. That's what he needed to do. It looks like perhaps Pagenaud struggling to get the balance as Brabham begins to pull away a little bit, places two GT cars between himself and Simon Pagenaud. That will give, and then gets blocked by the 40. Is it because of the fuel on board, Dorsey? Are the tires just not up to temperature yet?
It's both. It's exactly both. You know, you've certainly got more weight that you're towing around, but it takes a couple laps for these tires to come in. That would have never been that way if the communication between the pit and the driver didn't tell him that here comes the competition, which he kind of blocked him in turn one and ran him wide.
David, but we need to come in. We need to pit on this one. We need to pit now.
They need to pit now. You hear him say he's been able to get a lap up on the 66. That is good. He's been able to pull out a little bit. Traffic had something to do with it, but when David Brabham comes back out from the pit stop, Dorsey, he too will have cold tires. That car will be heavier, and you see it brake locked up, and he's off.
And the nose is the question, and he's off on that. The nose is the question.
I'm going to give you something here.
If they have to change it.
Hustle around now. Stay hard on it. Stay hard on it.
Obviously, he hasn't seen that he's been off the road either.
Right on the mark. Condition off. Condition right back on.
You saw David trying to get some of that dirt off the tires, but the question is, does he have enough aero downforce in the front? Will they make a change?
Now listen to me. We are giving you two tires. We are going for left side tires. We've got to do something here. You've got just a fast car.
Left side tires only. You heard it on the radio, Dorsey. And this racetrack, predominantly right-handers. Good call.
We're going for David. We're going for two tires, just two. All right.
I talked about this earlier on because of all the right-hand turns. Two tires is a smart call.
On board the 66 over there on the right-hand side of the screen, Simon Pagenaud. Not through the downhill yet, and the 9 is rolling already. There's the bet, the gamble. Is it going to pay off?
But David, keep going. Push hard now. Push hard now.
Now, here's the problem.
Here he comes. He just passed our finish.
Push
David,
hard.
Get this thing up to speed now. Go, go, go.
Push hard with an unbalanced car. The right side of the car is not going to work at all for 2 or 3 laps. Watch, he's going to struggle.
Left side tires are cold. Right side tires are hot. David Brabham, a damaged race car. A loss of aerodynamics on the left front, perhaps, or does he have too much aero up front? We don't really know what that change has made. And right now behind him, it's Simon Pagenaud who
went the wrong way.
He went through the uphill.
Simon's gone around the chicane or whatever you want to call it down there and gone up the uphill, so something happened there.
So Pagenaud pushing, obviously, to close that gap. Did he make a mistake in turn 5? Drama here at Lime Rock Park.
David, on the straight in front of you, he took left side new tires only. Left side tires only.
It will be interesting. It is 2 wins in a row for Gilles de Ferran's team in their Acura. But remember how strong Patron Highcroft was here last year at Lime Rock Park. Can David Brabham weave his magic yet again? We'll find out. Don't miss anything from Lime Rock. Simon Pagenaud behind the wheel of his DeFerrin Motorsports Acura in the LMP1 class from Lime Rock Park. Up on the wheel, as you would say, Dorsey, trying to hunt down David Brabham. We talked earlier this weekend, would anyone take left side tires only? Is that a risk that you could do? Is it a risk that you could manage? Would it work? It looks like Patron Highcroft is going to roll the dice and find out. Oh, and a problem there. Very close call, very close call, and Pagenaud now has nothing to lose. He's got to go.
That's why Simon's driving like he's driving, because right now, how long can you hold your breath? Can you hold it for 23 minutes? Well, you better be able to, because they're giving it all. They're 11/10 right now, and these other cars are going to take the beating, I'll tell you.
3.9 seconds at the line the last time by. 3.9 seconds is the gap yet again on this lap. Pagenaud leaving nothing on the table. If there's a gap, he's doing the best he can to put that number 66 Acura in that gap, and I think the gambles now, they're going to be pretty high stakes.
What's great is when we're right on board with that car, you can tell the level of driving. Watch this. It's no longer smooth turning. Now it's throw the car into the corner, slam the brake on, get on the power hard, spin the tires. We don't have anything to conserve now. Let's go.
David Brabham slightly faster, about 0.3 of a second faster on the last lap. We'll check this time by a relatively open lap as Brabham comes down the front straightaway. A 49.4, the exact same lap he did before. You talk about how close it is for Simon Pagenaud. A moment with the Vanderster entry there coming out of the 567 complex, and I don't think Gunnar Vanderster even saw him.
No, and that cost him greatly. Watch on board here. He tries to move the inside, but watch gets, oh no, almost. That would have been a catastrophe had they touched right there.
Well, there was also a car going through the uphill, and perhaps Gunnar Vanderster watching that car out to the left saying, I don't want to merge with him. I want to make sure I miss him, and just lost sight of the 66 down on the inside.
Now it's Brabham's turn to be in the midst of it all. Look, you got to know when to hold him and pull him. Like I say, when you get in that situation, sometimes it's better to back away from it. Now he's flashing lights, letting them know, I'm coming by this time.
Works past one of the ALMS challenge cars onto the front straightaway. The next car in line looks to be the 48, the Corsa Ginetta Zytek. And as they flash by the line, a little bit slower lap that time, 50.2 for David Brabham. And then about 5 seconds back to Simon Pagenaud.
You can watch the attitude of the car and realize that the patience or abrupt now. They're turning in, they're sliding, they're slamming curbs. They're doing all the things you need to do when you're in this situation.
Moves that would not have been made earlier in the race as you watch Brabham go past the 62 and force him to the outside. That was Jamie Mello, second in GT2. Brabham saying, I don't have time to be a nice guy here. I'm going in, and Mello probably making the right decision and going straight.
Well, this is what I call about, this is when I say it gets ugly. You know, when you get into these situations, all the etiquette goes away. It's down to business right now, and it gets a little ugly sometimes.
Last year, David Brabham worked the magic, the GT1 win at the Le Mans 24-hour. It came back to Lime Rock the very next.
29 to go. Show us what you can do, Simon.
Show us what you can do, Simon. David Brabham, I said, won that GT1 class at Le Mans, came here and put on an absolutely spectacular performance. The last 20 minutes, taking the lead from the Penske Porsche and going on to the victory. Is that going to be the repeat here? With about 25 minutes to go, he took the lead. Will he be able to hold it to the end?
You know, you're not conserving anything anymore. You don't have to worry about burning down tires. You don't really have to worry about fuel anymore. It's just now, it's a two-car battle, and can you run that other car down? And this traffic is the seesaw that's going to make the difference of who wins and loses.
In the left side of the 66. Watch him when he flashes by. I believe there's an orange cone in the radiator opening behind the left front tire. I saw it when it flashed by just moments ago. We'll have to see if we can get a good shot. Left front, right behind the left front tire. There is indeed something in there, Dorsey.
I wonder if it was that drink bottle that we saw.
That was on the opposite. The drink bottle was on the opposite side.
There seems
to be there seems to be something in the exits there.
I can't tell.
As we watch it go into turn 5, we'll get a good close look at it. I think there's something in there.
You're building drama.
No, I'm not building drama. I'm telling you, there's something in there.
I know how you guys are.
Let's take a good close look. I even have my glasses on.
Yeah,
I told you.
In there. No.
Thank you very much. Must have gotten picked up and thrown back into the gills there. And my question is that going to have an impact on the temperatures on that Acura Power? I told you I'd put my glasses on so I could see it, and you doubted me. So there is some drama. Does Simon Pagenaud have a car to do battle with against David Brabham? 5.5 seconds left, or 5.5 seconds, the gap right now between David Brabham and Simon Pagenaud. Just over 20 minutes to go. David Brabham, can he work his magic again? And what a great run for Dyson Racing. The crowd, they are loving it. Round 5 of ALMS action from Lime Rock Park. In there, what'd you sell?
I tell you what, Ford Mustang Challenge car, and I had a great time. I thank Ford for that. That was an eye-opening experience. I wanted all those cars.
18 minutes, just a little over 18 minutes left to go in this race. David Brabham right now with a 7-second lead, 7.5 seconds. But Dorsey, where that damage is on the left front, look at the seam underneath the Acura logo there. I'm beginning to watch that left front, and I'm wondering if perhaps that bodywork might be beginning to come loose.
Take a look here. You see it flexing right underneath that Acura sign right there. If that were to come off, Brian, it would do two things. It would increase a huge amount of drag because the wheel would be open to the air. It would lose substantial front downforce because of that. That wheel acts like a vortex and throws air up in the air. That car would be very, very evil handling if that were to happen, and it is flexing.
All because of that very minor contact we saw with the 21 of Dominic Farnbacher just a little bit earlier. But remember, problems for the 66 as well. 7.9 seconds, the interval the last time by at the line. We had seen Simon Pagenaud come through the uphill at one point in time, and as he flashed by right there, once again, Dorsey, you could see that cone stuck in those shark gills just behind the left front tire. Now those tires, or those gills, not only help cool the car and the radiator, but they're also downforce creating.
Yeah, they are. The big end, the good news is the big end of the cone is facing at the outward part. So it's actually gathering that air and pushing it out through a little hole in the end of the cone right there. So they at least, it's better than the other way around. This is probably where he got it. Yeah, I'm sure as you come up here, there'll be some re-entry cones.
I didn't see any, but I didn't see it. But certainly there was debris down there, and that's where he could have gotten it.
There's a cone stuck at the front of the car. There's a cone stuck in the splitter. That's what's hurting you, mate.
Well, there you go.
Well, that's downforce issue he's talking about there, not an overheating issue. Yep. So obviously what they're telling us there is the air passing through that tunnel, Brian, is integral to downforce.
Well, it's blocking off the left side there, so he's lost that little bit of downforce.
Waste time with this traffic, David. We need to get through it.
Oh boy, that's what you don't need to hear. Here's two guys side by side, and your crew guy's going, we can't waste time in this traffic, David.
Yeah, thank you very much.
+8, 16 minutes.
You know, before they were telling there's clear track in front of you, we need to make up some ground. Well, that's something you need to know as a driver. You know, they were telling you there's nobody up front and I run a really good number. But what you don't need is that the obvious stated, I got two guys in my face and I can't be held up by them.
Well, and you got this guy in your ear, your crew chief, who you have a great relationship with, and you trust him implicitly. But when you're listening to him tell you this stuff that you know, do you just reach up and like unplug your,
you know, I don't think
your earpieces?
Mostly, there's not too much information. I mean, it'd be better to know all those things than not. But I mean, some of those things like that one,
obvious,
you know, are pretty obvious.
Good lap, a few more like that, you'll be right on his arse.
These teams pulling hard for each other. The driver's doing all they can do. And it's going to come down to traffic, Brian. It's going to come down to luck. You know, we talk about race and luck and so forth. Well, it's going to play out today.
Second place in P2, Adrian Fernandez behind the wheel of the number 15 Lowe's Fernandez Acura.
They have had a troubled day, we should say. You know, they lost their actuator, so they had to replace that. They've had issues all day. They keep soldiering on, however.
Yeah, but the great thing is they've kept the car running.
Yep.
And for Dyson Racing, I mean, they're having a great day. They've developed that car, and now they're leading in P2, and they've got to be happy about that. There is your overall leader, David Brabham. Looking back a little bit further, there is the 20, the Dyson entry we were talking about. Butch Leitzinger and Marino Franchitti sharing that car. We also understand the 21 car will be called to pit road because he's got some body work, the under tray hanging off of it a little bit. For that Dyson team, they had such a great run at Salt Lake City, finishing second by half a second to the 15 car. And to be able to run so well here today, even when the 16, the sister car, had problems, That is great, great news for Dyson Racing, and it just shows the development. Don't forget, the 15 car, that Acura, has a year of competition underneath its belt. This is brand new product for Dyson Racing, that Lola chassis and the Mazda engine.
Well, just like Patron Highcroft Racing, the Dyson Racing, this is their home track too, right down the road in Poughkeepsie, New York. They always want to do good when they get up here. They have huge fan base following. Rob Dyson, of course, has been one of the matriarchs of sports car racing. Been around here forever. I raced him back in 1970-something. So
well, yeah, Butch has raced here 18 of the last 20 years, so you talk about experience. He certainly has plenty of it. And you know the Dyson Racing organization. It is a family affair, and that family seems to be growing. Chris Dyson and his wife welcomed their son Nicholas back in November. Guy Smith and his wife just recently had a baby in June. Butch and his wife just adopted a baby. Marino Franchitti is getting married in November. I guess I know what he's getting. Right now, David Brabham leading overall. It's a nail biter here at Lime Rock Park. It's going to come down to the bitter end. Stick with us. Been going to break. When the lap time at Lime Rock Park takes only 50 seconds, things change in a hurry. And we heard Simon Pagenaud at the beginning of this race say, if you have the lead with 2 laps to go, it is still not in your pocket while we were away. Pagenaud back to the lead. How did it happen? A problem for David Brabham. He said he came out of the corner, the car just fell over.
this was
up into the back, just collapsed the rear end. Okay, tell me a little bit about it. Tell me a bit about it. Well, it's getting a noise. Getting a noise in the back on acceleration. It came through the last corner and the thing just fell over on the back. A flat tire, David.
So drama, just that quickly, the lead goes away. It had been a 6.5 second lead for David Brabham. It has now gone the other direction by 37 seconds. A flat tire takes you out. Now, as I said, Simon Pagenaud said 2 laps to go. That doesn't mean you have the win, and he's got to face the same perils out on this racetrack that cut that tire that David Brabham just lost.
We got 12 or 13 laps to go, and anything can happen during that time.
It was an amazing scene in the Patron Highcroft pits when David came in. Instantaneous reaction. That, I mean, if it had been Le Mans guys, as we know, he'd have been absolutely stuffed. But he came straight in the pits, which shows the experience. And he couldn't even feel it was a flat tire. But I just saw the tire. I had my hand on it, and it's completely compressed. It's completely flat. It's on the left-hand side, and it just obviously, as he came through the last corner, it went boom down, and he came in the pits. And I mean, that some drivers may have carried on, and what a difficult decision, isn't it? Can you imagine, Dorsey? You know you're in the lead, you got to stay there, but you come in on that. What a decision to make, and oh, it's really cost them.
You know, they took that huge lead because of a 2-tire strategy. It was smart. It was not one of the tires that they did not change. It went flat. It was one of the new tires. So the strategy was still the right call. This was just a bad luck situation, and it can still happen more.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff left out there. If you look offline, and especially down in some of the tighter corners, that 5-6 area, you saw marbles there on the outside of the downhill. There's plenty of debris around this 1.5 mile worth of racetrack.
Oh,
now you also see
car.
a problem there for the 18, Richard Westbrook and the VC Racing Porsche. That's beginning to overheat. We're coming down to the end, so there are all types of problems out here that could befall anybody. Let's take a look here.
Right on board. This is where it goes flat. Oh, it's a hard stopper.
It went down in the fastest corner of the racetrack, the downhill. That is that 130 mile an hour and accelerating corner, and it takes a guy of world-class capability, a driver of David Brabham's stature, to catch that car.
That explains the high pitch of his voice when he came on the radio. I think I remember.
Brabham giving chase. He will not give up until the checkered flag falls. And you go back to the 20, Butch Leitzinger leading in the LMP2 category. This would be a huge win for Dyson Racing, not only because it would be the first with the Lola Mazda combination, but it would be at Dyson Racing's home track.
Marino Franchitti behind the wheel of the number 20. You did the first stint in the car. Talk about what this means to Dyson Racing with this being the home track.
Yeah, it's certainly a big meeting for us. The whole team have their friends and family here. You know, the BP Dyson Mazda crew have done a great job, and last year we were so close to getting a podium in the team's 25th anniversary, and hopefully we can pull it off this year. But I know we got a lot of our old families that are at home. I know Robert Davis from Mazda is sitting there chewing a cigar right now, hoping we can get through these next sort of 8 minutes. And yeah, it would mean everything to this team, and Mazda, BP, Dyson, everyone. They worked so hard to deserve it, so I hope we can hang on.
Now, when Dyson told you this year you were going to move and run the new Mazda Coupe, did you expect that you would have this much success this early in the season?
This team has just amazed me. The Mazda side, Lola, the Dyson crew, it's just been unbelievable the progress we've made, and it's been incremental every weekend. I think it's been obvious for all the people to see because we're getting closer and closer. And if that could all culminate in a win here at home, it would just be really cool.
All right, this team has taken it step by step, guys, and they are looking for the top step on the podium, but there's still 6 minutes left in the race today.
And if they can hang on, this would be Butch Leitzinger's first win since 2005 at Mosport, Mazda's first win since 2005 at Mid-Ohio, first win for a coupe in ALMS competition, the closed top car, and more importantly, maybe, depends on who you are, first ALMS victory in the P2 category for Marino Franchitti.
And for Marino, he said it right there. I mean, it's been amazing to watch this car, which came out, quite honestly, not doing very well. And each time they brought it back, they've struggled with different problems they had to overcome. But like I said, they just had 2 months to Dysonize the car, to take it down to nothing, and to build it back and make it the way they knew it should be. And look, fruit of labor right here. Yeah, hopefully they can go on in the next 5 minutes.
The development of this car has been, to them, I'm sure it seems long. At Sebring, they did not have the results they wanted. Neither car finished 70%, so they didn't score points. And to take the victory here, especially at their home track, would be special. Move back to GT2. Talk about special. Jörg Bergmeister is a very special GT2 driver. He has more GT2 victories in American Le Mans Series competition than any other driver, and he could become the first American Le Mans Series driver in ALMS competition to win 4 times at Lime Rock Park. We said that earlier in the show. Just a magic man in one of these Porsche 911s.
It is, and like I say, when you run here, like you and I did instruction here, you get a rhythm on this track, you can really do good here. But remember, you have to share this car with someone else. So it's not just you that's getting the job done. You always have to put yourself in a position where you can win these races. And there's trouble for the overall leader. That was Martin Snow, who won the last race, and the battery's gone dead on this Porsche.
That's in the ALMS Challenge class, so they look to have things wrapped up, and now you have a new leader there in the 36. That is the Group Orange entry of Wesley Hoagland and Bob Fieta. Having a good run right now, Fieta in the car, and a problem for the 21, and the 20 is in there as well.
The 20 is involved in this. Over the leader in P2.
And he's slow. Remember, they've had problems getting that car rolling on pit stops.
Okay, Butch? It's okay. Just work on getting it going, man. Work on getting it going.
This car is the car we talked about not liking to start when it's hot.
They have a 6-lap lead on Adrian Fernandez right now. You see him, it's there at the uphill. He's got to not only get it rolling, but rolling enough that he can climb that hill, Dorsey.
And they lost a clutch earlier this week on the 16 car, so the clutch is also an Achilles heel. Getting up that hill hot. Here, he's got it going. He's got it going. He's all right.
Good job, Butch. Good job, baby. Way to stay calm. Good job.
But where was he? He was over there in that area where people don't drive very much. That's where the debris is.
They got a lot of laps lead, so I mean, they take a look and see what happened here. There was a lot of cars involved, and we saw that last year as well. Well, it starts off with the painless. The 21 starts to spin. Everybody's in avoidance right now. Butch has kind of got trapped to the outside, nowhere to go, and unfortunately, I guess, stalled the engine right there.
I think when he gets on the brakes hard, maybe the engine just stalls. Let's take a look. There he is right there from on board the Farnborough Oils entry.
That's that decision process I'm talking about, Brian. You look out the windscreen and you have to make a decision. Where do we go?
And there's really no time to think. It has to be instinct.
That got the entire Dyson crew. Look at him. There's Rob Dyson, his son Chris, up on the wall.
very quickly about the issue they've had. They had it in the pits earlier, Marino told me. When they're forced to slow down like that, the same way as when they come in the pit lane, they really struggle to get down the gears. He cannot engage first gear, and I think that's what you just saw. The same problem, he couldn't get it down low enough to get going, and then they have a problem with the clutch. So I'm glad he's rolling.
That is that problem with this kind of shifting where you shift off a paddle. If you're not moving forward, the gears can't mesh, and you can click the button all you want. You can get stuck in third gear with no better way to go. It's a good way to burn the clutch out. And we already saw one fail on the 16 this week.
Leitzinger back underway and back up to speed, but right now it's Simon Pagenaud. The last time by at the line, well over 30 seconds in hand, so David Brabham unable to use traffic to cut back into Pagenaud's lead.
Well, Brab's flat tire cost him exactly a half of a lap, and these two guys have been circulating all day long at the same lap speed, so really there's no way for Brabs to catch up if Simon didn't make a mistake.
Jörg Bergmeister in GT2, last one here with Patrick Long in 2006. Smoke out of one of the BMW Rahal Letterman cars. As you see David Brabham flash by, and one of the Flying Lizard Porsches right behind Brabham. Should be one to go.
Yeah, a lap to go. And all the drama's coming out. We got the BMW smoking. What's going to happen there? Simon Pagenaud in good shape here. Probably will get the white flag when he gets to the bottom of the hill here.
And just over 40 seconds to go right now, so it'll be about 35 seconds at the line. That is less than a lap. Expect to see the white flag.
Should be the last lap, should be your last lap.
One to go, 1.5 miles for Simon Pagenaud for the hat trick. 3 wins in a row for Dyson Racing, but it is not over. There's been plenty of stuff that has happened today. It's not over until the fat lady sings, as they say. I think she's warming up her pipes. But Pagenaud still has to work through traffic, debris, and another section of corners after the top of the hill.
Literally, when he makes this crest of the hill, he can coast home free now because, you know, Brabham's a half a lap behind. If nothing, you know, right now he's sitting pretty good.
Get it rolling down the hill and you can put it in neutral.
Yep.
Pagenaud out from underneath the bridge, through the downhill for the last time, up through the gears in his Acura, and the celebrations will begin. 3 wins in a row.
Simon, well done.
And with the change in position there at the end, remember as we came into this race, David Brabham and Scott Sharp had the championship lead. Gilles de Ferran and Simon Pagenaud will close that down. Now Butch Leitzinger, 1 lap to go, and the victory will be Dyson's for the P2. Around the back straightaway for the last time through turn 5. This is where the problem happened the last time. Will the gearbox hold together? Can he get through the gears the way he needs to? Up the hill for the last time. Dorsey, as you said, this next segment of corners, get a good acceleration run out, you can coast past the line.
This team will be ecstatic. All of their fans here at this racetrack. Lime Rock's a great, great racetrack for the Dyson crew. Watch this celebration.
36 has taken the win in the challenge class. The 45 will take the win in GT2, and Butch Leitzinger, Marino Franchitti will take the LMP2 victory for Dyson Racing. And the celebrations begin. We'll be back to Lime Rock Park for the interviews with the winners when we come back. Stick around. Speed's coverage of the American Le Mans Series is brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine, and by Acura, Acura Advance. It was a great one from Lime Rock Park. Plenty of drama, just as you would expect it to be. And it took to the bitter end to determine the winner. That's what we like to see in ALMS competition. de Ferran and Pagenaud make it 3 wins in a row, and they're going to close down on the championship lead that Sharp and Brabham carried into this event. Justin.
Simon Pagenaud, a spectacular win. As you said at the top of the show in the pre-race interview, you never know what's going to happen right to the end, and there you are. It all came your way.
No, we definitely had a good car. It was difficult with the traffic. Definitely I was having trouble in traffic for some reason that we need to analyze, but the car was great. The car had behaved really well, but I was feeling the tire going away in my first stint toward the end, so I didn't want to take the risk to have a puncture. So I decided to switch tires, and I think it was the right strategy looking at what happened to David. So it's great. I'm happy for the team. It's our third win in a row, and I hope we can keep going.
Spectacular.
Well, that was P1. Let's take a look at LMP2. Dyson Racing will celebrate. Marino Franchitti, Butch Leitzinger, they take the victory. I'm sure the celebrations are happening down on pit road. Jamie?
They certainly are. Some emotional congratulations from the Dyson Racing team. But Butch, right at the end of that race, all of the drama, what was going through your mind when you knew the win was on the line?
I don't know what you're talking about. Everything was in control. No, it was just, just like, come on, this could not possibly happen. But everything seemed to work for us today. We've had enough times where everything went against us, so this was a little bit of payback. And it came at the right place at the right time.
When we talk about what a family environment it is at Dyson Racing, you see the emotion on their face down there. The crowd, what a great group. GT2, Patrick Long, Jörg Bergmeister, they won here in 2006. Bergmeister makes it 4 wins at the Rock. Justin?
Patrick Long, Jörg Bergmeister. Jörg, you're starting to get yourself a pretty big reputation here at Lime Rock.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just luck or... I mean, Patrick did a great job qualifying the car. And in the race, we made a change before warm-up on the differential, and the car was just hooked up in the race. And at the beginning, I still had to push because Jamie was pushing fairly hard, and then I think they got to stop and go, and at the end, it was just cruising. So great effort by the team, great pit stop. I mean, it's hopefully going to go on like this.
4 wins in a row, and they too will extend their points lead. Take a look at the ALMS Challenge class. Hoagland Fayeda, they come out, they dodge all the bullets all day long, and they come away with the victory. Jamie?
It was definitely survival of the fittest today, Bob Fayeda. Talk us through the race for you. Did you think you were going to be able to get around everybody and win this one?
Man, I started picking them off in the beginning, but it started to get tough in the middle there. We had to put on a used tire in the right front, so they're starting to struggle a little with the car, but Group Orange crew did a wonderful job. We had a great splash and go at the end. It was a combine of our care level crew and the Group Orange guys, and everything went together smoothly. And I want to thank Wes Hoagland of Westland Financial for giving me the opportunity to drive.
Well, Wesley Hoagland and Bob Fayeda, what a great win for them. Fayeda, a very talented driver. Coming up, the next couple of races. Remember, this is the run to the championship. You got the Acura Sports Car Challenge in Mid-Ohio, and then the American Le Mans Series at Road America Back on Speed will take you all the way to the end of the season to the championship round at Laguna Seca, and it'll be right here on Speed. It was a great one today, Dorsey.
Lime Rock Park did not disappoint. The thousands of fans that were here today saw a great American road race. I love this place.
Oh, and the weather could not have been any better. Coming up next, Monster Jam right here on Speed. In typical American Le Mans Series fashion, it was a great one from here at Lime Rock Park. It had drama, it had excitement, it had a little bit of disappointment. It had just about everything. For Dorsey Schrader, Jamie Howe, Justin Bell, I'm Brian Tell. Thanks for joining us here, the home of American Le Mans Series, right here on Speed. So long, everyone.